Abstain from. Just put it in your notes.
Just stop seconds. Of course.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Harlingen City Commission meeting. The time is now 5:33 p.m. We will call this meeting to order. It has been duly posted as required by state law. We have a quorum as all of the City Commission is present. I'll ask for everyone to please rise as Commissioner Bettis leads us in our invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today with gratitude for the opportunity to serve our community. We ask for your guidance and wisdom in our discussions and decisions, that we may act with fairness, integrity, and compassion for all. Bless our city and its people, and help us work together to create a brighter future. In your name we pray. Amen.
Now we pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark?
Under state law, a conflict of interest exists if a commission member or certain members of that person's family has a qualifying financial interest in an agenda item. Members with a conflict of interest cannot participate in the discussion nor vote on the agenda item. Are there any known conflicts of interest to disclose at this time?
Commissioner?
I have none, I'm sorry.
10M, as in Mary.
Okay. None?
None.
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 Item 3, announcements. With respect to items not listed elsewhere on this agenda, the City Commission may report on items of community interest, including announcing or community recognition. Item 3, Mayor's announcements.
Thank you. I don't have any. Thank you.
Okay. Item 3B, City Manager's announcements.
We're going to be having Fiesta de Piñatas next Saturday, September the 14th, from 5 to 9 at Gutierrez Park, and Lucha Libre Friday the 13th from 7:30 to 9:30. And I'd like to wish Commissioner Kinsley a happy birthday. That's all I have.
Moving on to item 3C, City Commission member announcements. Commissioners, do you have anything to announce?
The only thing I would like to ask is this evening, before you go to bed, take a moment, good thoughts to the families of the people impacted by today's school shooting in Georgia. Another terrible event, but give them a quick prayer. That's all I got.
None.
I echo Commissioner Kinsley's remarks. Thank you.
None.
All right.
Okay, item 4, proclamation presentation of awards. Today we have 4A, Harlingen Animal Shelter Pet of the Week.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. Tonight, or this evening, we have Monty with us. He's a little Shih Tzu mix, Shih Tzu Maltese mix. He's about 2.5 years old. He is already neutered. Has all of his vaccines, and he's ready to go into a loving home. Super friendly. The person who turned him in said that he's housebroken. He lived with a cat, so he gets along with cats. He's just an all-around friendly, great little dog. So anybody looking for a small dog, he's very lovable, very cuddly, and would love to sit in your lap and spend time with you. But anybody interested in him is welcome to go by the Harlingen Animal Shelter at 1106 Markowski. The shelter's open every day from 1 to 6.
Shannon, I think his back nail is stuck on his fur because he's limping.
He's got an injured leg. So it was an old injury. But the vet has looked at him and he gets along fine. It doesn't affect him in any way.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
I feel for you, little guy. I know how that feels to be jumping around on one leg. Many, many nights.
What happened, Mayor?
Public service, that's what happened. I'm broke my foot, yeah. Okay, and what was his name again?
Monty.
Monty, okay, well,
And I am happy to report that Beethoven did get adopted. So for everybody, in case you didn't see it on Facebook, he did get adopted, so he's found his loving home, and so Monty is next on our list.
fantastic. Thank you both for your incredible hard work over at the shelter. We're so excited. And I know that we had the adoption event that you had, and you adopted, how many was that, Jasmine? 8 animals that day. So fantastic. Great job. And hopefully the community comes and adopts Monty here and gives him his loving home. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Or Mike.
Okay, item 5, citizen communication. At this time, the public is invited to address the city commission and speak on any matter not specifically listed for public hearing elsewhere in this agenda. Please note that the city commission members may not respond to comments or deliberate on topics addressed. There we have a total of 3 citizen communications. We will start with Mr. Raymond Reyes.
We missed you last time, Mr. Reyes.
My apologies. I was dealing with some other issues, and we saw how that panned out yesterday. So, Raymond Reyes, 706 Nantucket Drive. Of course, here in Harlingen. Been here a long time. It just goes back to what I always reiterate. Proper oversight in everything that's done on behalf of the citizens of Harlingen. This panel commission has been elected to do the right things for the right reasons. And, just like anything else, whether it's a municipality, a corporate entity, a business, you got to accept the good with the bad. Sometimes things get away from us and we think we can get away with little things and it's not going to get noticed. But there are people, I'm not going to say like me, but other people that notice every little thing, because I truly believe if we do the right things for the right reasons, things will pan out. In some instances, though, some individuals, it was told to me a very long time ago by my grandfather, and he was from Mexico. If you want to know somebody's true character, give them a little bit of power. You're going to find out exactly how they are. So I, for one, have always stayed true to reality, the way things really are. I don't get lost in fantasies. My family's always been very well politically connected because of my father's business interests, mostly. Some of y'all know what type of business he did, for a very long time. Let's just say it was in the entertainment industry, along with jewelry stores and everything else. So I think as long as we stay on the right path, we can do right things. I do, from what I've seen, there's some instances about taxes being considered to go up again. And I just think that if we reevaluate everything, is it really necessary to do that? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you do things not just because you can do them. You got to relook and analyze everything before you make decisions like that, and look at all the consequences of how everybody's affected. Because we're still digging out from the trenches of what we just went through a couple of years back. And from what I understand, the city, I don't know what they call it, reserve fund, slush fund, or whatever, is actually doing pretty good. I remember from back in the day when the city had less than $3 million. Unfortunately, at that time, I was going through litigation with the city, and we dropped that because, they were going to lose. And I was told that it would have bankrupted the city. But again, I did the right things for the right reasons. This was many years back. So I think, we put our best foot forward, do the right things, like I've said before, and always have oversight on what we're doing. We're going to be fine. If not, we shouldn't be surprised with the consequences that will materialize from not doing the right things. With that note, my phone keeps buzzing, so I have to be somewhere else, and I think hopefully I beat the buzzer. But I'm out of here, and y'all have a good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
There it is. And there it is. We have Robert Lefwish.
Robert Lefwitz, 909 East Parkwood. I just want to start off with, after stomaching through the last meeting comments about the tax rate increase, every taxpayer in the city of Harlingen needs to be alarmed, especially at y'all's behavior laughing, mocking, misleading. That's just an embarrassment for the city. Y'all need to be professional. You want to cut these meetings down to an hour, hour and a half? Cut out the nonsense. Take your job seriously and do the homework. If you're going to have a tax increase, admit you have a tax increase. Have some integrity. We've got a $2.5 million tax increase that we're talking about today. And you guys are saying that it's a rate reduction. It's the lowest rate reduction we've had in 24 years. We don't pay rates. We pay the levy. The levy is the tax bill. That's the collective tax bill. This notice right here, which is a city notice, says 2.5 million. You know what? The last administration in 2014 for the 2013 tax year, they increased 200,000. The next year, another 200,000. The next year, 250. It took 6 years to get to $2 million of levy increase. That's the tax bill. Let's talk about the notice. It says right here, tax on average homestead, $650 for 2023. 2024, $706. How many tax bills on the average home does it take to make up $2.5 million? Somebody said, oh, well, this is new. This is from new properties. It's not from new properties. If you look at the prior year budgets, I've already read this to you. This budget for 2024 fiscal year will raise more total property taxes than last year's budget by $1.8 million. $302,000 in tax revenue is raised from new properties. That means $1.5 million the existing property owners had to come up with. And then we're telling everybody, well, your rate was lower. Who cares about the rate? We pay a levy. We don't pay a rate. Look at the next year, $1.1 million. $361,000 was new property. Out of this $2.5 million, Commissioner Mesmer, this is not all new property. Maybe $300,000, $400,000 is of new property. Over $2 million. Mayor, I'm scared about what you said at the last meeting. You said we have to have the voter approval rate, which is the max allowed by state law, before you have to go to the voters. If you do 2.1 million your first year, 1.8 the second year, 2.5 the next year, you keep maxing that out. Next year's tax increase is going to be over $3 million.
Time's up, Mr. Lethbridge.
Thank you, Mr. Lethbridge.
Up next, we have Mr. Ruben R. Peña.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Commission. My name is Ruben Peña. I'm 222 West Harrison. I am a proud graduate of Harlingen High School in 1966. And at that time, to follow up on Commissioner Kinsley's comments, we did not have issues regarding school shootings. The news out was really tragic in Georgia. 2 students and 2 teachers were killed today, and 9 people were injured. So you're right. We need to keep them in our prayers, and we really need to do something about getting reasonable gun safety going on. But I'm not here to talk about that today. I want to be here to thank you, Commissioner Pettis and the mayor and the city commission, for finally getting around and fixing Palm Court Boulevard, because every time I would go over my bumpy road, I was having back problems, and I would have back problems. Coming back out, it would straighten out. But I want to thank you for doing that for the residents in that area. It is it's a real help. The other thing that I want to thank you all for is putting the sign back up on Lieutenant George Gutierrez Park, which was missing for a while. I had spoken to a couple of the veterans, and they were wondering what was going on, and I told them not to worry. The commission is going to put up a sign, and I didn't speak to anybody about that. You all did it on your own, and I want to thank you all for that, because that is something that is very near and dear to the residents of our community, to the families and the friends of George who knew him and were friends with the family. The last thing I want to ask you is to consider doing some kind of homage for Connie and Juan Salas. They were citizens of this community for many, many years, did a heck of a lot to improve the city, to do different kinds of activities for the city that emphasize the heritage, the Hispanic heritage of our community. And I'd like the commission to think about doing some kind of honor in their memory. They were both great citizens. They came back from Chicago, where they were very active politically and very politically active here. So I'll leave you with that, and I want to thank you for your hard work. I know it's thankless many times. I sat on the school board for a number of years, and I know that it's easy to throw daggers, but I congratulate you for the work that you do and the time that you take out to serve our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peña.
That concludes our citizen communications. So we'll move on to item 6, approval of minutes, regular meeting of June 19th, 2024, and regular meeting of July 3rd, 2024.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to item 7, consent agenda. No discussion is anticipated on any of the items in this section because they are routine business, were included in the budget adoption process, or have been previously discussed as a staff report or discussion item. These items will be considered collectively by a single vote unless a commission member requests an item be removed from the consent agenda.
Is there anything to be removed?
Yes, I would like to remove item E.
Item which?
Item E.
E.
Yes.
Anything else? Is there motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. 7E,
All
Melinda?
right, so 7E, consideration and possible action to approve the installation of speed humps in the following locations. This item was requested by Commissioner Frank Morales and Commissioner Fort Kingsley.
Okay, thank you. Is there any additions?
Yes, since I've been block walking lately, I've talked to a lot of the citizens, and they've reached out to me and spoke to me about some of the speed humps that they think might be necessary. So I would like to add these to the list. One would be Aragon Drive between Haberford Drive and West Arbor Street. The other one would be West Arbor Street between Mid Lane and Arden Street. And the last one would be Kingbird between Hackberry Street and Mulberry Street.
I can add one to the 1200 block of White Wing.
What was that?
1200 block? 1200 block? Yeah, now I can give you the specific address. We did it on the other side of White Wing. We ran the numbers, but if we can do it on the east side.
Do we need to have those emailed to you, Josh?
I'm running it down.
Okay.
And Josh, if I could add Rio Hondo Road between Phoenix and 25th Street, and Matt's between 7th and 13th Streets. If we could get a traffic analysis done on those two.
Do you have any?
Frank?
No. Okay. So just for those that are tuning in at home and the newcomers to the commission meeting, and you might, this is just to put it on the list for Public Works, and then they'll go out and do the study, making sure that traffic is accounted for. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then those will be reported back to each of the respective commissioners. And also, these are always requests that come from the residents within those neighborhoods, right?
Okay. And when I was going to mention, Josh, can you make sure that, I know they had started doing it, but I know there was a time where, because I know it's Frank and Ford that requested this, but you make sure that the data comes to all of us?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Is there a motion with those additions?
Make a motion to approve item
7E.
Actually, I'm sorry. I needed to add one more. I'm sorry.
That's right.
I wanted to do on Beckham Road between the frontage and Old Business 83, or Business 83.
Motion to approve 7E with the supplemental, or the roads that were added to this.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And probably a good idea, it was a lot to send those to Josh via email for the commission.
I'll review the
Nurse.
video as well.
Okay. All right. Melinda?
Okay. Item 8, staff reports and other discussion items. Items in this section are not expected to require action by the City Commission and are generally for information only. However, any item listed in this section may become an action item with the request of the mayor or after the request of any two commission members or the city manager. Item 8A, City Manager's report. Do you have anything to report, sir?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay. And we have no staff reports, Mayor.
Okay.
So we'll move on to item 9, public hearings. At this time, the mayor will invite members of the public who have filled out the public hearing and the citizen communication form to address each item listed in this section. Please limit your comments to the topic of that public hearing. If more than one public hearing is being held, you will be allowed to speak during each topic, provided you have filled out the public hearing and citizen communication form for the appropriate topic. If you are signed up for 2 or more public hearings, you will be limited to 5 minutes for all topics. Mayor, we do have a total of 5 citizens that signed up for public hearing, and that is for item 9H.
I only have 3 here. Do you have the
We added Mr. Ortega and Mr. Martinez.
Okay,
Yes.
fantastic. All right. And that is only for the one item, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll go through these really quick here. Item 9A, public hearing for a special use permit to allow an adult business smoke shop in a general retail district located at 1601 South 77 Sunshine Strip, Suite D, bearing a legal description of Lot 22 and 23, Block 11, Arroyo State Subdivision. And at this time, we'll open the public hearing, but having no one here to speak for or against, we will close the public hearing and move on to item 9B, public hearing for a special use permit to allow an adult business smoke shop in a general retail district located at 401 South 77 Sunshine Strip, Suite E, bearing a legal description of the east 10 feet of Lot 1 and all of Lots 2 through 6 Windsor Place subdivision. At this time, we'll open the public hearing and close the public hearing, having no one here to speak for or against this item. 9C, public hearing for voluntary annexation request of a 56.45 acre tract of land out of Survey 295 Stewart Place subdivision located along the south side of Garrett Road, approximately 650 feet east of Altas Palmas Road. At this time, we'll open this public hearing, but having no one here to speak for or against, we will close the public hearing at this time. And 9D, public hearing for the voluntary annexation request of a 7.7 acre tract of land legally described as Lot 1, Block 2, Georgette subdivision located at the southwest corner of Bass Boulevard and Johnson Lane. At this time, we'll open the public hearing and close this public hearing, having no one here to speak for or against. Item 9E, public hearing for an SUP to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption in a neighborhood service district at the Arroyo Mart Food Store located at 1222 South 1st Street, bearing a legal description of lots 10, 11, and 12, Block 2. This time, we'll open the public hearing. Having no one here to speak for or against, we'll close the public hearing at this time. Item 9F, public hearing amending the City of Harlingen Code of Ordinances, Chapter 109, Subdivision, Article 5, Standards and Specifications, Section 109-124F, sidewalks by amending the time frame for the utilization of the sidewalk escrow funds to fill sidewalk gaps in residential developments. This time we'll open the public hearing and close the public hearing as no one is here to speak for or against or signed up. Item 9G, public hearing on the adoption of the City of Harlingen annual budget for fiscal year 2025. This time we'll open the public hearing and close the public hearing as no one is as no one signed up to speak for or against. Item 9H, public hearing on the proposed tax rate for fiscal year 2025. All right. And at this time, we will open the public hearing, and will you call up the first?
First up, we have Mr. R. Frank Lozano. Mr. Frank Lozano? I'm so sorry.
Good afternoon, City Commission. I come to speak to oppose this tax increase, and that's what it is. Let's be honest about it, a tax increase. I've spoken to oppose these tax increases every year that they've come up, and they've come up more frequently with every year. What I'm dismayed by and disappointed is that the Commission has advertised over the past year, when they raised it last year to the voter approval rate, that they're lowering the tax rate. Now, while that may be factually true that the tax rate is lowered, the actual tax amount is ever increasing. Now, as Abraham Lincoln said, you can fool all the people some of the time, and you can even fool some of the people all of the time, but you simply cannot fool all of the people all of the time. And that time is coming with this election coming up. We need to have a lower tax rate in the city of Harlingen. There's no such thing as city funds, as government funds. This money is coming out of the pockets of all of our hardworking Harlingenites here in the city. It's coming from our sweat, tears, labor. We have a right to have the no new revenue rate at least, if not an actual tax decrease. Luckily, the 86th Texas legislature did give taxpayers the power to see what the city commission is approving. The current proposal is for the voter approval rate. And it's interesting that the proposed rate is going to be set exactly at that voter approval rate. If it was even 1/100th of a cent more, it would require an election to go before the citizens of Harlingen, an election that we all know would be struck down fairly quickly. So I ask the city commission humbly to please just take into consideration the wants and desires of the citizens of Harlingen and to not increase our taxes yet again, another year, $2.5 million collectively out of all of our pockets, and also to preempt the assertion that perhaps some of this is coming from new construction. Well, that new construction is listed on the agenda as about $350,000 out of the $2.5 million increase. So no, not all of it is coming from new construction. You can look around. There's not that many new developments, which there's some issue with that too, but that's on a separate matter. But in any case, once again, I just like to implore the City Commission to please follow the will of the voters and decrease taxes, not increase them as they're proposing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lozano.
Next, we have Mr. Robert Leftwich. You want to pass? Okay. Okay, then we'll move on to Mr. Ron Lozano.
District 3. Attorney Pena mentioned daggers that he may have thrust, but the standard here should be higher. Is the dagger thrust accurately? So, District 3 Mesmar notes that Cameron County Appraisal District only adjusts property bumps every 3 years. Perhaps that explains why he consistently votes for actual tax increases on his constituents, such as now, this fiscal year. I don't know if due to some deal he has with the district, he's exempt from what the rest of property owners face, which is yearly upward bumps. Regardless of his posturing on about our tax rates, which traditionally are done several months after the known appraised values, as the finance director mentioned to Gabe, July 25th is what the state typically mandates. It does not flow that commissioners don't know if the average tax increase imposed will be higher. Even if the tax rate is minimally lowered, as has been noted, the levy is higher for the average taxpayer. That's why Commissioner Pettis says, I vote yes for a tax increase. He's got some nominal facts, not always perception. The incremental impact, as the tax levy numbers reflects, is higher for decent ratepayers here. Our current mayor lamented for over 2 minutes at the last meeting that our taxes are too low. Only for her and her take on that special Christian term, impossible. Yet, to her credit, she cites Laguna Vista. Thank you very much. And tomorrow, because I might have been slow on the draw, our budget will probably increase by $200,000. This is that Humane Society that was a private organization at $400,000. We're probably already doubled it within 1 year. Thank you.
I want to remind everyone that is signed up for public comment, you should address your comments directly to the commission as a whole and not personally attack or comment directly to each of the commissioners. And we all know the rules. If we could just play by the rules, that would be nice. Next.
Okay, we have Mr. Juan Ortega.
Mr. Ortega. Welcome, Mr. Ortega.
Hello. Juan Ortega from 2401 Alani Circle, Harlingen, Texas. My commissioner is Mr. Perez. And anyway, I'm addressing all of you because you're going to have an important decision to make, and hopefully it's for the good of all the people in your community and in other communities in different districts. The situation I find myself is, apparently, I've been a veteran from Vietnam, and I got an opportunity to avoid my taxes because of my disability. But somehow or another, the good Lord decided to give me a good heart and care for other people. Even though I don't have to pay them, I'm still very concerned for other individuals they have. So I hope that you all find it in your heart to be careful in your decisions and help out the community by not increasing them, because that's already a job that's already done for you by the appraisal district. Every year, they get the orders from the controller, and they say, this is how it's going to be. And I noticed one time as I was looking at my statement, it was market value so much, and this is appraised value, which is based on the sales of houses around your area, comparable. And some of those houses, your house might be kind of depreciated and everything, whereas the other houses are brand new and they're put up for sale, and that's what they base your tax appraisal for your house, even though it's very old. I wish Bert Ogden and the Delegates lady would actually say, here, we're going to give you this much for your old car, and it's going to be based on the same price of the car that you buy. That's not the case with the houses. So, but anyway, it's already figured in where you all, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, don't have to make that decision because the increase is already there on the appraisal values of your homes. Thank you. Appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ortega. And I invite you to stay if you have an opportunity for the rest of the meeting, and we'll be going over this item. And so if you have time, I think it'd be great if you could listen into the discussion. Yes, sir. Okay. And let's not talk from the audience.
Up next, we have Mr. Desi Martinez.
Mr. Martinez.
I come in peace. Name is Desi Martinez, and I haven't been here for a while. I've been very busy. I have an autistic grandson and have to tend to him too. Plus my work at 73. We still work. A lot of our elderly still work. But the point is here that the message was sent out. Now I'm doing social media. I didn't do social media. I do proposals, I do packages, I do plans, I do blah, 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 and economic development. And as an economist, the purpose of here to come today is important, is that this activity, that policy you're going to put is a budget deficit. Twice in a year and 2 years. And according to the info I just got and you got, it was a lot less years prior. You were here, Mr. Mishman. I'm here because also in the messaging out there that I received was provided solutions. You have an audit committee, and you have an auditor. And I highly recommend that some of the recommendations that we're making out there on insurance, on property insurance, self-insurance potential options, combining some of these. We have 3 big organizations in this city. You all run it. I mean, in terms of policy. They have to come through here, through your budget. That you set up a people that are in the business of business and public finance and other, and economic development, to overview that. You have an auditor. We have had one auditor. It's gone, the auditor. Why? You have an auditor that can manage that budget, and as a city manager type government that we are, you don't run it. The city manager does for us. So advise us, Mayor, to give you the advice that we need so we don't have to have these complications. You do have some savings potentially out there you can make. And you have made, I don't know how much, I guess $1 million on interest, on interest on the rainy day fund. All these disasters we just went through, they're not worthy of considering some of that money for some of the costs that you might have done for the last 4 or 5 months. I'm not in your seat, but I know how to fix it, because that's what we do. It's called turnaround business management, how to do it. And with your auditor, you want a solution? There it is. And that we participated there, that know about this business are doing turnarounds. I've done turnarounds in hospitals and clinics, in airports, and air cargo, etc. This is a business, private-public business. So I asked you, consider working another model. I'm not here for or against. I know you went through a lot of stuff, but please look at this option. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
That closes up our public hearing for item 9H, Mayor.
Okay. Can we move on, Melinda?
Yes, ma'am. Item 10, action items. City Commission will discuss, consider, and take any action deemed necessary on items listed in this section, including the adoption of a resolution or an ordinance. Item 10A, consideration and possible action to adopt an ordinance on first reading for a special use permit to allow an adult business smoke shop in a general retail district located at 1601 South 77 Sunshine Strip, Suite D, bearing a legal description of lots 22 and 23, Block 11, Arroyo Estate Subdivision. Applicant Mohammed Al-Rashani. Planning and Development.
Mayor, City Commission, good evening. This is for a proposed smoke shop in this commercial plaza. There's no opposition from the surrounding property owners. The Planning and Zoning Commission approved it unanimously, subject to the conditions in your packet.
Javier, I just have a question. I noticed a lot of them kind of popping up in the community. There's no restrictions or limitations or that they need to be, whether in a certain distance from schools, or there's not.
No,
at this point?
not like the alcohol.
Mhm.
With the ABC, they have regulations for that. We could add to our ordinance regulations to that effect, so we can add our own regulations. So that's something that we could consider as a possible zoning ordinance amendment for this type of businesses, that they will not be allowed within a certain distance of a residential area or a church or a park. That's something that could be done in a zoning ordinance amendment.
Well, something to consider.
If you want to consider that, Mayor, that would have to go before the P&Z
Right.
For consideration first before it comes to the City Commission.
Right. I don't know how I feel about it either way. I just noticed that recently we've had quite a few, and I know how the community feels about these types of, not all in the community, but I have had some feedback in regards to these shops, and so I don't know how the commission feels about it. I just wanted to ensure or confirm that we didn't have any restrictions right now at this time.
So no, they just have to have the commercial zoning. They have to go through this process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we invite the surrounding property owners to provide feedback. In the downtown district overlay, they are not allowed because adult businesses are not allowed within the downtown district overlay.
So they are restricted there.
Yes, in the downtown district overlay,
Mhm.
they're not allowed. Like this or tattoo shops and things like that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Read it.
The ordinance, the caption.
An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, ordinance number 16-8 of the City of Harlingen, to issue a special use permit to allow an adult business smoke shop in a general retail district located at 1601 South 77 Sunshine Strip, Suite D, bearing a legal description of lots 22 and 23, Block 11, Arroyo Estates Subdivision.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10B, consideration and possible action to adopt an ordinance on first reading for a special use permit to allow an adult business smoke shop in a general retail GR district located at 401 South 77 Sunshine Strip, Suite E, bearing a legal description of the east 10 feet of Lot 1 and all of Lots 2 through 6, Windsor Place subdivision. Applicant Mohammed Arashi, Planning and Development.
The caption, Mark?
An ordinance extending the corporate, oh, hang on. I got the wrong one. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, ordinance number 16-8 of the City of Harlingen to issue a special use permit to allow an adult business smoke shop in a general retail district located at 401 South 77 Sunshine Strip, Suite E, bearing a legal description of the east 10 feet of Lot 1 and all of Lots 2 to 6, Block 3, Windsor Place subdivision.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10C, consideration and possible action to adopt an ordinance on first reading for the voluntary annexation request of a 56.45 acre tract of land out of Survey 295, Stewart Place subdivision located along the south side of Garrett Road, approximately 650 feet east of Altas Palmas Road. Applicant Javier Hinojosa, care of Carlos Snavely, Attachment Planning and Development.
Mark?
An ordinance extending the corporate limits of the City of Harlingen by annexing for full purpose a 56.45 acre tract of land out of Survey 295, Stewart Place subdivision located along the south side of Garrett Road, approximately 6,050 feet east of Altas Palmas Road, binding the land to all of the acts, ordinances, resolution, and regulations of the city, approving an annexation services agreement, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lopez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
10D, consideration and possible action to adopt an ordinance on first reading for the voluntary annexation request of a 7.7 acre tract of land legally described as Lot 1, Block 2, Georgette subdivision, located at the southwest corner of Bass Boulevard and Johnston Lane. Applicant Georgina and Saul Gonzalez, Planning and Development.
Mark?
An ordinance extending the corporate limits of the City of Harlingen by annexing for full purpose a 7.7 acre tract legally described as Lot 1, Block 2, Georgette subdivision located at the southwest corner of Bass Boulevard and Johnson Lane, binding the land to all of the acts, ordinances, resolutions, and regulations of the city, approving an annexation services agreement, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10E, consideration and possible action to adopt an ordinance on first reading for a special use permit to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption in a neighborhood services district at the Arroyo Mart Food Store located at 1222 South First Street, bearing a legal description of lots 10, 11, and 12, Block 2, Lillian Bush Addition. Applicant Edna Martinez, Planning and Development.
Can you read the ordinance?
An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Harlingen, a special use permit issued to Edna Martinez to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-site consumption in a neighborhood services NS district located at 1222 South First Street, bearing a legal description of lots 10, 11, and 12, Block 2, Lillian Bush Addition.
I think it's your district, Daniel.
No,
No?
it's mine.
Yours? Do you have any?
I have a question. Did we get any opposition to this?
No phone calls, no, nothing.
You have a church just across the canal.
It's but more than 300 feet away.
I thought it was a lot closer. And then you
Yeah,
have this.
They have an alcohol. This business has been around for 30-some years, and so they sell alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption. So you can buy a 6-pack of beer and take it to go. But now they wanna, similar to the Stripes case, they wanna sell the margarita. The applicant is saying that it's gonna be to go, but the license that is needed for that is for on-premise consumption.
It's not really 30 years, it's well over 50.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
that's because-
it's a historic business. Yeah.
Yes, I know them well,
Yes.
to a certain degree. Okay. My problem is you have kids going from Coakley going home, correct? The school that's there, all right? Is Ms. Martinez here?
I don't believe so.
That's my issue, okay? The difference between Stripes and this location here is the Stripe doesn't have that kind of traffic of students going by, all right? And I didn't have the time to pay her a visit and talk to her directly. Maybe tomorrow I'll make some time the day after. But for that reason alone, I'm not in favor of this. I do understand that we have some residents there, but my concern is the kiddos. And after we've seen so many violent crimes against kids, I'm very leery. So I'm
That's a valid
opposed to
concern.
it, but that's up to you.
So, Commissioner, I'll just say for the record, when we were visiting this with the Stripes, that was also in your district, I think.
Correct.
I voiced my concerns and was opposed to it, but obviously everyone on the commission was in favor.
Correct.
And my concern was that, and I know we took the time to talk to the chief and to the department, and that if you do it for one, you better do it for all. And so now, if you are opposed to this, then you're really not treating all the business owners the same. And it was a concern that this was going to happen, that you know, they're going to see it and they're going to want to do the same thing in their business. And so I would just caution that is an issue, because, you know, now you're looking at this store, and you're right, because I did go to Coakley and you walked
Okay.
through here, and it's been around forever, and this is kind of a mom and pop type shop, and now we are not treating them the same as the big guys in town, and that could be looked at as, you know, we're singling them out, and I would just caution, you've already made a decision, and I think this commission set a precedent, and now going against it might not be the best thing for the community, for the city.
They already serve alcohol here, correct?
They sell alcoholic beverages like beer to go. So that's been
Okay,
30
and
years.
what else do they sell here?
It's a convenience store.
It's
Just a convenience store, mom and pop convenience
a small
store.
convenience store.
Okay, and they want to expand it to carrying margaritas out to the street?
Yeah, so they have this product that they're interested in selling, which is kind of like a margarita drink. And so what the applicant is saying, I just want to sell it to go. But the license that they need for this product is for on-premise consumption.
And that was my issue, was the on-site consumption. And so now they want to sell it to go, but residents have every right to open up that margarita, sit down and drink at the store. And so that's that. But again, I mean, I think you've already done it for the other store. So.
And we have several applications coming in for all the other Stripe stores. Yeah, so you're going to see 2 each meeting for all the other Stripe stores. Yes.
Josh, you may remember, I remember during COVID, Governor Abbott signed, I believe it's House Bill 1024, which allowed restaurants, remember, you couldn't go out to eat, and then they allowed restaurants for you to be able to go to a restaurant, buy them whatever alcoholic beverage, and then take it to go with you. That's still, I'm
It's still
looking
on
it
the
up.
books.
It's still on the books, correct? And in fact, it got formalized and passed by the Texas State Senate and the House and whatnot, correct? So, and this, Javier, is no different than that, correct?
Correct.
And again, I guess going to Commissioner Mesmar's point, this is no different than picking up a 6-pack to then take it home.
Technically, yes. And then there was no opposition from the surrounding property owners. If there would have been opposition, okay, now things are different. But nobody opposed this case.
Those notices you send out, they're in English and Spanish?
There's a section. So these are the people that got the notice, the dashed line. And in the legal notice, there's a section in there that if you want a Spanish translation, that they can call us.
But it's in English.
No, it is in Spanish.
To call,
Yes, si tiene alguna pregunta, a favor de llamar al Departamento de Planeación.
but they can't read anything on there.
Well, they can
Potentially.
call from that sentence. They can call to find out what's going on.
Having grown up in that area, there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people in that community, and I bet you they got it and they threw it in the garbage because they didn't know, not all of them, but potentially, and so we should strive to have it in both English and Spanish. I think that's a charter amendment.
It's going to be if it's passed, yes.
Anyhow, I don't know. I think it's different than Cheddar's lets you drive up and get one of their drinks and it's closed and you pick it up, but you can also have dinner, have your drink, and all. I think it's much different than when you're going to a convenience store and you could potentially have on-site consumption.
Now, Javier, the property owner can say that they're selling this product, but you have to consume it off premise, right?
So the applicant's intent right now is to just sell the drinks for off-site consumption. But in the future,
They could always change your mind. right?
yes, because the license allows that. Now you can place additional conditions in this ordinance. You can add a condition that it will be only for off-site consumption. So that's an option.
So maybe that's something as a city that we should do. If, I mean, you know, you're going to get all these from all the stripes and say, hey, we want to support your business, but we don't want to encourage on-site consumption. That's not for today, but that's just something to consider.
So
But-
these are the conditions that we have in the ordinance. So an additional condition could be added if that's what the commission wants.
Mhm.
That is only for off-site.
Maybe that's something you can present to the P&Z board.
Yes,
and
it
see
was
if it's something-
presented and the applicant objected.
The applicant objected
Yes.
to it not being,
Yes, to add that condition,
well, why would they object if their intent is just to,
because in the future they may want to.
well, there you go.
I think to see if we can resolve your concern and give Commissioner Morales an opportunity to speak to his constituent or Ms. Martinez, can we table this and you resend out notice fully in English and in Spanish?
Yes, we can do that.
And let's do that. And if we can, whatever we need to do to put it into an ordinance, that all those notices for objections need to be in English and Spanish. One side English, one side Spanish, so that everyone has a fair opportunity to object.
I think that's good. Is that fine?
That's fine.
All right, so is there a motion to,
I'll take a motion to table.
Second.
all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item F, consideration and possible action to adopt an ordinance on first reading amending the City of Harlingen Code of Ordinance, Chapter 109, Subdivisions, Article 5, Standards and Specifications, Section 109 through 124F, Sidewalks, by amending the time frame for the utilization of the sidewalk escrow funds to fill sidewalk gaps in residential developments, planning and development.
Mark?
An ordinance amending the City of Harlingen Code of Ordinances, Chapter 109, Subdivisions, Article 5, Standards and Specifications, Section 109, 124F, Sidewalks, by amending the time frame for the utilization of sidewalk escrow funds to fill sidewalk gaps in residential developments, providing for publication and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
All right, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item G, consideration and possible action to
Thank you,
approve an
Javier.
ordinance. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Okay, we appreciate you putting everything together in our packet to make us more efficient.
Item G, consideration and possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading adopting the City of Harlingen's budget for fiscal year 2025 by record vote, Finance Department.
So this is the fiscal year 2025, good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners. This is the fiscal year 2025 budget. We have a proposed total revenues for all funds of the city, $114,385,180, compared to proposed expenditures for all funds of the city of $115,585,034. I have attached Exhibit A which breaks down each fund by fund balance, projected revenue, projected expenditures, revenues over, under expenditures, and ending fund balance.
Right. Is there any discussion? And so you need a record vote, is there, right?
We
On
need a
this?
record vote on the tax.
So not on this. Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Reading.
I'm sorry, yes.
An ordinance adopting the revenue and expenditure budget for the city of Harlingen, Texas for the fiscal year October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025, providing for publication of the caption of this ordinance and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
You have it here as record vote. I just want to be
On the
clear.
executive summary?
Yes. So you don't need a record vote? It's up to you.
Yeah, you do. Sorry, I didn't.
Okay, all right. So is there a motion?
I have a question. If I read this correctly, we're going to be off by 1.2 million, correct? We have-
On all funds, yes.
Of all
Total.
funds. Have we done our due diligence in reducing our expenses? In making sure that we've covered every possible?
I believe we have. We went through 3 workshops, and we did many cuts throughout the workshops. The actual requests were much larger than what they are now.
The reason that it shows what you just call a deficit is because we're taking money out of the fund balance, and we can't transfer that into the budget and show it as a revenue. So it's money that we have on hand already. So the expenditures that we show are more than the revenues that we're taking in, but we're bringing in money from the fund balance to cover those expenditures.
Okay.
And that is correct. And this includes several one-time purchases from fund balance that are going to reduce fund balance through the operations, through the revenue and expenditure portion. So in those expenditures that you see, the 150 million include many one-time capital expenditures.
Okay. How many unfilled positions are we carrying on this budget?
Unfilled positions? Very few. That I know of, we only have, I think, 2 in the general fund. I don't think that, Chief, do you have any in police? You do? Oh, no, not counting the cops grant. 2, yeah.
So we're looking at 4.
Oh, well, that's just in police. Is Chief Barletas here from fire? Anybody from fire? No. I don't know that. I don't think fire has any, because they just hired some cadets that they're training. So I think they're full. Actually, no, they're fully staffed. And then in the general fund, I think we only have 2 right now.
Why don't we look at the ones that we need to fill? You have that slide, right? Can you,
Yeah, the ones that,
the ones that were approved or that are subject to
so
contingent?
the top part are the one-time expenditures that we are taking out of fund balance. So the second section are the funded positions that we are adding in 2025.
But you have a slide of the individual,
Yes.
because what you're asking for is how many are we carrying over that haven't been filled, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Can we eliminate some of those instead of carrying them on the books?
No, you can't. We can't eliminate the ones from PD because that's said by
No, not,
CBA.
but there's going to be others. There will be others that we're carrying on the books. If you want an example, let's go with the media.
No, we need the media. We need a media person.
Those,
That's something that we need.
yeah, that's an open position that is going to be filled.
How long has that been open?
So these positions are not positions that exist currently in fiscal year 24, but
Right.
are approved for 25.
These will become vacant positions on 10/1.
Right.
The media has only been vacant for a week and a half.
I thought you had requested somebody else as well.
No, we
Several
did.
months ago.
We did, but we haven't hired that position because the director had been on leave that she requested.
Right.
Oh.
But I was, so if we have 2 or 3 positions that are, that's to say that we're not going to fill them, which I don't think that that's the case. I know PD will, and then the ones that we have that are open, those are fairly new positions. But we have 21 new positions, so it wouldn't make a difference because we have to pay 21 new employees. Is there any from here that you'd like to cut?
No, that's not my question. I think it's already been answered. We're looking at 2 or 3 positions.
Two.
Two.
Okay. Media and then there's one in
I
HR.
do realize that's just a drop in the bucket.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, so my next question would be, have you considered trying to renegotiate the contract with the Texas Electric Utility? Is that a possibility to reduce how much we pay?
That's a multi-year contract that we signed with them. We're paying about 4 cents per kilowatt hour. No, they're not going to.
And that's a great deal for us?
They're not going to renegotiate that. We just signed that. Matter of fact, when we had that contract awarded, the commission recommended, and I agreed, that we should sign a multi-year contract because that hedges our increases over time whenever you have fluctuations in energy, and there have been quite a few lately. So I wouldn't recommend we do that now. And 2, I don't think that they're not in any position to be obligated to renegotiate that contract.
I do recall that contract because I wanted a consultant to make sure we get our best bang for our buck.
Right, and the commission said no.
Yeah, oh, I remember that one well. What about Lineberger? Can they reduce their fee so we can?
We don't pay Lineberger. They make their revenue from the people that owe the city money.
So they're the ones who fork it out?
Yes. We don't pay them anything.
All right. I'll say I'll leave it at that for now. But let me ask you one, since I just looked at a note here. We went from 208 days of operation to 220. Can that be used to reduce the deficit here?
We don't have a deficit, Commissioner.
We're looking at proposed expenditures of 1.2 million over revenues.
That's because we can't count.
I understand that. Okay, I really do. Okay. But what I'm trying to get to here is this. If we can reduce our expenditures, all right, we're going to be able to get it, we're going to tap into the general fund whether we like it or not. Okay?
We're doing that for one-time capital expenditures, yes.
So, Commissioner, just tell us what, you want to make some cuts. What do you want to cut specifically?
If we need funds, which
But
we will.
What do you want to cut specifically so we can move through what we're doing? So if we're going to do, if you want to do that, can you identify where we're going to cut?
I'm looking at 220 days.
So
okay, on the days of operations.
So when we started the year, we had the 220, and so with the one-time capital expenditures that we added, it's down to 177.
Okay, that's what I'm looking at. So we're down to 177.
Yes, sir. At the end of 2025. That's what is projected.
You said
177 days.
Okay. Because we started off with 208, we went up to 220, now we're going to be dropping down to 277.
177.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I just don't want to keep on increasing.
And that includes all of the one-time expenditures, all of the proposed new positions, and the other increases.
No, we're not taking money for the positions out of the
No,
the
well,
fund.
that's
Yeah.
through the operations, but the one-time expenditures are.
Okay.
So we're taking 1.2 million out of the rainy day fund, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that reduces us from how many days to how many days?
We had 220, I think it was.
Right.
Yeah, so We are now at 177 days.
Okay.
Well, we
So
will be at the end of.
At the end of 2025.
Correct.
Right.
And so today, the yield curve reverted. And that's a cautionary tale for the economy. The yield curve controls our lives. And people complaining we made $1 million from our rainy day money. The Federal Reserve looks like they're reducing rates in 2.5 to 3 weeks. That money will go down. We take $1.2 million out. That interest will go down. And should the yield curve stay reverted, normalize, then there will be rough economic times ahead. And you need to save for a rainy day, because every now and then it rains.
Yes.
And you don't live paycheck to paycheck.
Very nicely put.
Okay, so is there anything on this budget, Commissioner, that you would like to remove? Is there any cuts, or is there anything in your district that you want to take out?
At this point, I'll just say, we'll stop right there.
Well, this
Okay?
is the time.
Well, see, the thing is, there's going to be another section that we're going to discuss in reference to the other material that everybody's very concerned, okay? And I'll bring up some points there, okay? So for right now, let's just go ahead and take our vote.
I want to give you the option to make any changes on the budget, should you want to make any changes. Would you like to make any changes at this time?
No.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, so is there a motion to, you already read the? You did, okay, so is there a motion?
Motion.
Okay, and so it needs a record vote, so Commissioner?
We need a second.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was you. Go ahead. Is there a second?
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay, and we'll start with Commissioner Kinsley.
Aye.
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 I'll stay with nay.
Aye.
Leave it. Just leave it.
All right. Well, Commissioner, just, you can't vote, you can't oppose it and then not provide any solutions. That's what becomes the issue, because if you want to make some changes, then we should do that. But if you have none, and
Okay,
then to
let's-
oppose the budget, but you know what, that's fine, it's done, you got your record vote?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on.
Item H, consideration and possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading adopting the tax year 2024 and Valorum tax rate for maintenance and operations together with an interest and sinking rate for fiscal year 2025 by record vote, Finance Department.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. We are proposing a M&O rate of .453628 per $100 valuation, together with the interest and sinking fund of .073896 per $100 valuation, for a total proposed tax rate of .527524 per $100 valuation. Staff recommends approval.
So, Robert, just before, I know that clearly we had a few people that signed up, and I know I asked Mr. Ortega, but I'm sure he probably had to get home, but they can watch this. I think it's important for us to show the community what it is that we are doing in terms of the equipment that we have purchased, the salaries that we are going to be funding. And so can you just take us through that really quick, so
Sure.
that way? Yeah. Because I know that there's been a lot of talk, right? And I think, yes, you can look at numbers and you can see $2.5 million that there is in increase, and I'm sure that that's the term, right? Folks want to hear that it's a $2.5 million difference from last year to this year.
Right.
And I don't think that anyone is saying that that's not true or that's not accurate. In fact, it's on our notice. But 2.5 million, what does that buy a city? I think that's the question.
Right.
And so we know for sure, off the top of my head, I know that we had the collective bargaining for the fire department and the police department, and this commission and the entire community of Harlingen value public safety, and we want to ensure that we are able to retain officers, that they are paid a living wage, and they're able to support their families and to do the great job that they do. Our fire department is phenomenal, the same thing for them. And so we spent over $1 million in just those two organizations. Right? And so every cent gives us, as a city, about $500,000.
Correct. That is
So, and if we were to go down 2 cents, that would be the $1 million you and I talked about, Commissioner Morales. But we see that this collective, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I looked at the past collective bargaining for fire and police, nowhere near what they received these last, while we've been here on the commission. And that is because we want to ensure, you know, when we first got here, they were having a hard time keeping officers. Now we're having a hard time, you know, with you have folks that lateral transfers, people wanting to come in, and Harlingen PD is where people want to work. And we want the folks in our community to work in the department where they live and not go to neighboring cities. I think we've accomplished that. So do you have that?
Just in what you're talking about, we have these other payroll increases. So if you see at the bottom, we have CBA police increases just in 2025 that we're expecting that have already been agreed upon based on the agreement. We have $613,000 in police CBA increases. We've also negotiated the fire, or you all have negotiated the fire contract in the current year, and we expect that to increase the budget $664,286. Just in those two, we have about $1.2 million in there. We also have the second and final year of the Evergreen study, which increases our salaries by $239,798. And we have 5% health insurance increase for 2025. So with those other payroll, just in those other payroll costs, we're looking at 2.1 million increases in the budget, not counting the new positions and the one-time expenditures.
And these are reoccurring because now.
And they will be reoccurring.
And they're just going to continue to
forward.
climb, right?
Correct.
And so that's 2.1. So when we're talking about what does $1 million buy within a city, this is just increase. That's not to cover their salaries. This is just the increase that we have, and this doesn't include new positions.
That does not include new positions. New positions total $1,096,000, and that includes departments in the general fund, which is MIS, Parks and Recreation, building inspections, a large one for street maintenance. We have about $624,748 in street maintenance. We have some in the tennis center, sanitation fund, about $89,000 in the sanitation, and also in fleet maintenance, $44,000. So in total for 2025, we expect an increase of $1,094,000.
And then your one-time purchases, I'm seeing you have a total of $6 million, $6.3 million.
So that's correct, 6.3. The large ones are street maintenance, as you can see, 2.2 million. We're getting the new street maintenance crew, so that is going along with the new positions that we have included. These are all the one-time expenditures for equipment. We also have police department, traffic signals, animal control, and this is all one-time purchase equipment. Parks department, library, public buildings. We have the sanitation department. That's 2.8 million in equipment, and that was just approved in one of the previous meetings. Municipal golf course and motor vehicles. So that's about $6.4 million in equipment, along with the additional $3.2 million. So that brings a total to $2.6 million.
And we're not going to have those costs in the budget for 2026.
Right, not the one-time recurring. That will just be in 2025, but the recurring ones will be the positions funded and the other payroll increases.
But it's important to know when you have folks that say, hey, you have this rainy day fund, why don't you dip into that rainy day fund and make these purchases? And that's what we're doing.
Right.
Right, but in a
that's why some of the
responsible
days decreased
way.
from 224 to 177.
So Gabe, are we shrinking as a city? Or are we growing in population and business?
No, sir, we're growing. Our last census count had the city growing by 5,000 people. That was an undercount. The census has us at 71,500. We, by our own estimation, think we're at about 85,000 in population.
And as the city grows, there are growing pains. Is that correct, Gabe?
Yes, sir.
And,
Substantial.
how do you address growing pains?
You have to grow your fleet and your employees to address the issues. One of the reasons we're starting our own street department, because the $1.5 million that we collect for streets, we're only able to get about $4 million in roads because we go to the private sector. By doing it in-house, we can estimate that we can take that same dollar amount and get $8 million, 8 miles in roads reconstructed. So
you're saying we're increasing our efficiency?
yes, most definitely.
And all it takes is money to
all it
address
takes.
a growing city.
That's all it takes.
And so in addition to that, these are expenditures that are one-time expenditures, but being able to fund this crew is actually going to save us money in the long run because of all of the in-house work that we're
Right.
going to do, correct?
Where we used to outsource it and pay contractors to do it.
Right. And we are leveraging grants because this isn't enough for us to do all of the work that we're doing. And so in addition to these funds, we are leveraging grants. But
Correct.
I wanted to just go back to, the 2.5 million and compare that to the 6 point, I guess you could back out the sanitation fund because that's their own account. But you still have
3.3.
right, and then you have the positions that need to be funded, the 1 million. Those are going to be reoccurring, and then obviously the increases of the 2.1. So when people are asking, well, where are you spending this money? This is where it's at. And so my question to you, Commissioner, is there anything here that you think we should not fund, that is not necessary, that is wasteful?
One thing that we could really consider that I've been asking for the past 3 years.
From here?
No, let me finish.
Okay, but my question, and I'm glad, and I'm happy to entertain that, but my question is there anything here from these one-time purchases or these positions that you feel that need to be stricken because it's wasteful spending?
These one-time purchases are coming from the general fund, correct?
Correct.
There's no issue with that, okay? But we can reduce expenses, okay? That's one thing that we keep on missing out on. For example, we're very efficient, but how many claims are we having per year or workman's comp?
Okay, we're going beyond the scope. The question is, this is what we have in front of us, and if there's anything, and you're saying that these are fine, these one-time purchases, these positions, and everything that we've done, which comes to a total of, I guess, $9 million down here, you're okay with, correct?
I'm going to put my foot in my mouth here, okay? Here's what I'm looking at, okay? This is what they put in front of us. We keep on drinking the Kool-Aid, and we can't keep on accepting what's being put there, all right? That's what I have an issue with.
Well, then maybe.
Well,
I think that that's not accurate. There's been many workshops, and you've been able to attend those workshops. And I know that I sat down personally with finance, and I spent several hours this past week, and to understand and to ensure and to see if there was anywhere that it could be cut. Did you do the same? Did you go?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Well, then, it's not on staff. If you have questions, then ask those questions. But let's not mislead that we are given information and that we just accept it, and because that's not accurate. What we do is we read our packets, we come prepared, and if there's somewhere that you would like to cut, then I'd love to hear that, and we can entertain that. But if not, then all the rest is just noise. And so I don't. In addition to that, I wanted to see, is Kareem here? I'm going to put you on the spot here, Kareem. just because this is hard stuff, right, for people to understand. And I know that I was probably asking questions that are like, made me look like I didn't know, because at the time I didn't know, and you have both educated me in terms of where that 2.5 million comes from. In addition, in additional collections. And so it's been, I think there has been some comments that these are all single-family homes, but I learned through you that there's about 20 categories. Can you go through some of those that are also taxed?
Sure.
Off the top of your head.
Basically, any property in the city is taxed at the same rate.
Kareem.
But we're looking at the values. Sorry, all the properties in the city are taxed at the same rate, so we don't get to charge a different rate for single-family homes versus other properties. And some of those properties are gas distribution systems. The main ones are railroads are up there. Commercial limited property is a major component, but I think if somebody wants to really affect what the city is doing, they should really just reach out to the appraisal district and protest their properties. Because we're just a small component of the entire taxing entity. We researched it earlier, and we were about 27% of their total tax bill. So regardless of what we do with the tax rate, we might save them $10 here, but they might end up paying $50 extra to the other taxing entities. And so we just want them to take a holistic view of their entire tax process and really think about what we can affect here at the city, because we really can't affect that much besides the tax rate, and their overall bill might be more influenced by the other taxing entities within the city.
So we looked at potentially shaving off a cent, 2 cents, and did the math and all of that. And your, I think, response to me was potentially $20, $30, and that's being, I guess, generous with your math.
Sure. I mean, each property is different. So, I mean, it's possible that some properties will go down. It's unlikely on this year because the valuations did go up pretty heavy this year. But if you look at most people's valuations, they're still below market value. For just about every property that we look at, the appraisal district is trying to catch up to market value. We've had a huge increase in our property values in this area in the last 3 or 4 years. And so we're still paying less than what we would get if we sold that property in terms of the tax. I don't remember the exact question, and I don't know if I answered it, but...
So I just, I was really surprised to know that there were 20 different categories, actually more, that were being taxed. And so when folks are thinking, okay, this 2.5 is spread amongst all property owners, single-family homes, that's a false statement, because there's all these different different categories. And in addition to that, I think out of the total homes that are single-family homes, what was that total, like about 19,000 or?
That's correct.
Something to that figure. And then about 12,000 had their homestead exemption approximately.
Yes, so the conclusion we can draw from that is that either a lot of those properties are either investment properties or people that haven't gone out and got their homestead exemption. The most important thing they can do is make sure that they had a homestead exemption. If you're trying to save money, a couple cents on the tax rate is going to be minimal compared to making sure that you have that homestead exemption, which limits you to a 10% increase in value every single year. And so no matter what the property values are doing, you're going to be limited in terms of how much it's going to increase. So I would say the most important thing you can do is make sure that you have the homestead exemption on your personal property, and then also look at your tax bill as a whole and make sure that you are looking at the entirety of the picture, whereas the city might, total increasing 4% on your individual property, the overall increase could be a lot higher on some of the other taxing entities.
Can you give us an example of some of those other tax entities?
Sure. So from the list, Cameron County is charging a similar rate to us. The school district is the largest component of the other taxing entity. They do about 40%. So the Cameron County does 21%. We here at the city do 26%. The school district is 44% of the total tax rate. The Port of Harlingen's minimal. The drainage district is 6%, which I was shocked about. And South Texas ISD is 2%. So if you look at all of those taxing entities, we are at 26% of the entire tax bill. So no matter what we do, we can only affect a quarter of that total tax bill.
So when people get their bill, they live in the city of Harlingen, but they maybe just assume that this is the city of Harlingen tax bill, and we are city of Harlingen. But in reality, there's a ton of other, not a ton, but there's several other entities that are taxing entities, and we're definitely not the majority. But I think your question was the different
Taxing entities.
Oh, it is okay.
Yeah.
Taxing entities.
And so there's a drainage district tax.
That's correct.
You know, we live in the desert. Every now and then we flood, and people bitch about, where's my drainage? And there's a drainage facility, right? A drainage group, and we pay a tax to them to keep the drainage and expand and grow the drainage to keep us safer.
I agree with everything you just said.
I have a couple of questions. I know they're going to be repetitive because the answers have already been provided. But I just want to make sure that I understand this correctly. What is the dollar amount of the tax increase?
So that's part of the problem. It's hard to lock that down. So if you notice, a lot of the notices that we put out have different percentages, and everybody's like, well, why is this percentage different from this percentage? And the reason is that all analyzing it in different ways. So, you know, the 10% of the 2.5 million that you guys are talking about, that is comparing the certified total for the upcoming tax year with the certified total from last year. The last year numbers are adjusted throughout the year, and so those amounts really change, but we can't keep doing that. We have to follow the laws that are put forward by the state of Texas.
But that amount is paid off the levy, correct?
The amount?
Okay, the amount that's being charged, okay, the 2.5.
Okay.
Where do we get that from?
That's a calculation of the tax rate multiplied by the value of all of the properties in our taxing
Okay,
area.
so basically, we're saying it's a dollar amount of tax increase of 2.5 and change. Más o menos, more or less.
Yes, you can say that, but you know, I could get it to say just about anything that I wanted.
Can you
That's
say,
why
can you make it say 1.7?
I can, and I can show you several different ways to get down to 1.7, but that's just one way to analyze it. So even that 2.5 million is not entirely true because the balance last year needed to be increased because there was an exceptional amount of protested properties last year that wasn't incorporated into the calculation. So when you go back and calculate what was done last year, it was actually more money. So when you compare this year compared to last year, it's not as big a gain as it shows. But I can't go in there and make these assumptions and tell you, well, it's not really showing you what you're wanting to see. I have to follow the law and put on there exactly what you're trying to compare.
Okay, but the law did state that we had a 2.5 and change tax increase, right?
I don't know that the law stated that, but the law stated what I had to show, and so, yes.
But that's what was on our packet. Now, my next question is, what's the dollar amount of the existing property?
Of the existing property?
Well, what about new properties?
So on the new properties, there was about $322,000 that was calculated based on the information that was given to us by Cameron County, $324,000.
So, okay. I got to be careful here. So as far as the amount of a new property is 325,000,
Yes.
more or less.
The value of the tax associated to the
Okay.
added property from the prior year.
Same question, but on existing property.
Okay. What's the value?
Yes, how much revenues are we getting from the existing properties?
So you're going to have existing properties plus gains in value over those properties times the tax rate, because our tax rate has technically gone down. So you're going to have increases from the appraisal district on a lot of those properties.
Would it be safe to say that 325 from 2.5, that would be from the existing property? Existing properties, not one, everybody's.
As I understand it, yes.
Okay, that's it.
But out of those existing properties, isn't it true that they're not all single-family homes? And there's the railroads, the electric
Absolutely.
companies,
Just
the
looking
telephone.
at it here, I would say it's 50-50, probably 1.3, 4. It's probably, a lot of our property values do come from single-family homes, but from that number, it does not break out investment properties. I know a lot of people like myself might have a home that I live in that has the homestead exemption, and then you might have another investment property. So it's still going to show up as a single-family resident, but it's in my case, it's an investment.
Basically, what you're missing, Frank, is context. You're trying to throw these numbers out, trying to get what you wanted to say, but you're missing the context.
Well, what I'm also looking at, and I keep this in mind, okay? We got seniors on a fixed income. And if you drive in certain neighborhoods like where I live, you're going to have people out there trying to sell having their garage sales to try to make ends meet. I don't have to talk to them to find out what their living situation is, okay?
Those are protected by homestead, and they're also protected by frozen property values when they reach a certain age.
But at the end of the day,
context.
You're looking at a price of a gasoline that's $3 to $3.25. Okay, that $20 that you used to go out there and buy milk and eggs and bread doesn't cover that anymore.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what I'm looking at, yes, you do have different entities that are all going after the same people, the same taxpayer, the same resident. Okay. We need to find a way to protect them and say, instead of saying, you know what, here's what we need, and then run with that. That's all I'm trying to get to.
I'm with you. The problem is I think you're looking at the 2.5 million and you're saying that applies to that 55-year-old person on a fixed income. And I think you need to look more at the micro. If you pulled up that person's income and you looked, their tax might stay exactly the same. So if you look at it from a macro level and you say we got $2.5 million in increases, it looks crazy, but it's not applied to everybody the same way.
Okay, let's say that we disregard the residents, and you have 10 small mom and pop shops. Their revenues amount to 100,000 a year. Okay, so basically what we're going to do out of the 2.5, we can do away with what, 25 businesses, so we can get that. I know that how many small businesses are we willing to put under on this kind of tax rate? If they're just making 100,000.
I have no idea how to
Okay.
answer that.
So everything is relative, all right?
Sure.
We're looking at homeowners. Some are doing well, dual income. Others not so well. Others are retired, okay, on a fixed income. We have small business owners that are trying to make a living, okay. Are we going to tax them just as much across the board? That's my concern as well, okay. I'm trying to see the big picture as to how is it going to affect him? How is it going to affect her? Okay.
And
If
all I can say is go look individually at their tax bill and see how it affects them. Don't try
And
to
how
do-
can people look at their own tax bill or other people's tax
All that
bills?
information is online. I actually just looked up yours right as I was sitting in
Yeah.
the back because somebody had mentioned it, and so I saw your property tax bill. I'm not going to say it up here, but
Yeah.
you can look up anybody's property tax.
Where?
Bill, on Cameron CAD.
Yeah, Cameron CAD. Yes.
Have you looked up your tax bill, Commissioner Morales?
No, I haven't. But you know why? Because you probably looked at it yourself.
No, I did not. I did not. But I'm wondering, I mean, you're advocating, but do you know whether you paid more or less? So that it's And to Kareem's point, we need to look at individually. I know that, I'm a taxpayer here too. I have a small business, I have my home and my taxes. Did I pay additional tax? Yes. Do I want to pay additional tax? No. But we have to fund the police. No one wants to defund the police or the fire. I got to make sure that the employees that work for the city are paid a living wage, and we are striving to do that. They need health care insurance. That was a 5% increase. We need to provide excellent service to our community. We need to do better in terms of parks, and that's why we're funding more positions. We need to do better in terms of streets. That's why we have that crew. We need to do better in terms of drainage, why we have that crew, and we are working really hard. So yes, I think no one is saying that, there has been no increase. Yes, we have said that there is a reduction in the tax rate, and we should be proud of that because, yes, that has happened in this commission, and it continues to go down, and we have more sales tax coming in that is going to continue to drive that even further. But you keep saying that we should do more, but you have zero solutions as to what you want to cut. You just keep saying we need to have it lower, but then you want to fund all these things. It's like, when you have a child and you give them an allowance and they want all these other things, but they realize they only got $10, right? That's all you can buy, but they want the thing, they want the Nintendo, or they want all these other things, but they can't have that because they only have $10. And so, you have to pick and choose, and you haven't decided that you want to cut anything. And so I'm really confused as to what you're trying to do or say here, because none of it really makes any sense.
If I could say something, the Cameron CAD, they're independent. Nobody in the city or San Benito or Rio Hondo or Brownsville goes and says, jack up that guy's rate, lower mine. They're an independent agency. We have no representation on the CAD. We have people on the CAD whose sole duty is to make sure that it's being run honestly and prudently and with a fiduciary responsibility. No Harlingen people are tasked with raising our taxes, but the Cameron County Appraisal District, Cameron CAD, raises our taxes too frequently. Now, the flip side of this is, I've been in my house 41 and a half years, bought it for $53,000. Houses on my street are selling for $215,000. Houses across in my backyard are selling for $250,000, $270,000. Neither my wife nor I believe these numbers, but they're real.
And I bet you know what your tax bill is every year.
I pay it October 1st.
Yeah,
but
everybody.
But the thing is so we can all thump our chest and say we're worth money on paper. I'm wealthy. I'm worth $300,000 or $500,000 or whatever on paper, but nobody wants to pay any taxes for it. And so Harlingen is reducing the tax rate as we get more tax dollars in. And Gabe, where do we get tax dollars in from? Existing properties?
Yes, our revenue, Commissioner, our largest portion of the revenue is not the ad valorem tax rate. It's retail sales. And so we generate the majority of our revenue from sales tax collected. And it's not just necessarily from Harlingen residents, but from visitors that come into Harlingen and spend here from the surrounding communities and people that come into town to visit from other parts of the state. And then it's ad valorem taxes, and then all the other fees that we collect for use of our parks, permits, building permits, all types of revenue. So it's a big list of where we get our revenue from.
When I first ran, I told everybody, they heard Sin City. I said Sim City. That used to be a old computer game where you build a city, right? And back in, the 80s or 90s? And you do this and people rebel, and you do this and people love you, and you ignore this, and then, it all falls apart. And so we're not in the ignoring, let the city fall apart phase.
was a lot, Kareem. Thank you. You know, we also had, I think that you pointed out last time, Commissioner Lopez, and you provided, did you provide this to us and on our, it's the list of all the other cities?
I think Robert did that
Yes,
one.
Robert. And so thank you for that. I know you had brought that up. I don't know if
Do you have the slide for that?
I didn't bring the slide for that. I don't have it on the slide.
Well, just for the public to know, and I'd like us to include this on the website so you can see it, I asked last time for a comparison of the Harlingen tax rate compared to cities throughout Cameron County. And we found that we're one of the lowest.
And that is a comparison of Hidalgo and Cameron County.
It's statutory. So even if we're looking at the voter approval, tax rate, which is what we're looking at right now, which is 0.52, when you compare us to City of Primera, they're 8 cents more than us. City of Brazo, 8 cents more than us. City of Los Fresnos, proposed, again, the voter approval rate is $1.08 more than us. So when you compare Harlingen to the rest of the city, or the rest of the cities in Cameron County, we're a lot low, our property taxes. So put it another way, if you were to move your house in your neighborhood and put it in a different city, let's say Brownsville, you would be paying a lot more in property taxes. Just your same house, your same neighborhood, just moving it into a different city. I'm in a unique position, and you guys know this, I've brought this up in the past, that District 2, unfortunately, didn't get the necessary attention that it needed in the past. We had the worst flooding in the city. We had some of the worst parks in the city. And so when I get calls from constituents concerned about why isn't the park grass cut, right? I get a lot of calls about Vestal Park. I get calls about Utedes Park. I get calls about potholes. I get calls about just the different amenities that people want. And if I'm constrained and we don't have the money there to do it, then my hands are constrained. I'm blessed that I work alongside a fantastic commission that has supported our district, and specifically District 2, in our projects. Where we did the trail at Lansing Hill, the trail at Vestal Park, the drainage district, or the drainage canal on T Street, the multiple drainage projects throughout the city. We're able to do it because you guys have, and I thank you again, have supported me, and we've worked together to support each other in each of our projects. Something, Frank, that I would like for you to consider, and I'm happy the mayor hit on this earlier, is we've been really good about making sure that every dollar we spend is put forth in a way that will benefit the residents the most, right? And I'll give you an example. When I first came on board as a commissioner, when it's about 2 years ago now, you guys, we all worked together to use ARPA money, and we needed to create a drainage crew, and we turned around and used the ARPA money that was designated for Lozano Plaza, or Lozano Detention Pond, which is north of the police department. We were able to leverage that money and create a crew, and we did it.
We only bought the equipment with the ARPA money.
Correct,
Yeah.
and which saved us how much? It was $1.2 million.
The cost to build it was 1.2. We built it for
$500,000, using federal money for that, right? Another example, and something else this commission's been pushing, and I'm proud of us, is that we've been looking at, if you recall, right now the city is what it's called fully funded, or we do. We are fully funded, and we're looking at going into self-funded, which will then next year save us about $500,000 in taxpayer money. We worked with an energy company to put in $75,000 into the Harlingen Sports Soccer Complex. We worked with another energy company to put in another $75,000 into the soccer complex, the public library. We're putting together this street crew, and $6.3 million is a lot of money, but we're doing it to save us money in the long run so that we can be more efficient and more effective. Because how can I go to constituents and talk about we want to become the capital city if we're not investing in ourselves? And unfortunately, each of us, each district, and your district as well, Frank, remember how long had you had to wait? 30 years for for the fire hydrants, something like that, your district, right? And we were able to do that by using federal funds. And so this commission has been very proactive in leveraging federal funds. Remember, last year we expanded the grants department, which is bringing in millions of dollars as well. The mayor has done a phenomenal job of working with our state and federal partners. You got us, what, $1 million for a drainage project, $1.2 million for a drainage project right behind City Hall.
So let's just be clear, 1.9, wasn't it 1.9 million for the drainage project, and then another 600,000
for police.
So I know that that's kind of, it surprises me, because I know that there's talk of, why is Norma going to Washington? Why is Norma working with the delegation? Why is Norma going to Austin? But I can say those, I was able to deliver by getting those earmarks and getting 1.9 million for the city of Harlingen by having those conversations and making those trips and taking the time to foster those relationships so that way we could get that. And it worked for drainage and also for the police, and then we have some more that hopefully will be coming. And we have the Water Development Board right here. It was so nice to see the chair, sitting in this chair from the Water Development Board. I mean, that's huge, and getting a $10 million loan because of those, you know, and I know that you went up there with me, and so did Ford, and having a delegation, a legislative committee from this commission did go a long way, and so we are leveraging those grants.
Chairman Pop.
And so, yeah, I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I just told the name of the chairman.
So everyone knows.
I'm sorry, Chairwoman, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Chairwoman Pop.
And I understand a lot of the arguments that are being made. I bought my house in 2014. I just graduated from school. It was appraised at that time at $60,000. Now it's being appraised, this past year I looked, it's being appraised at $150,000. I'm being capped out at 10% increase, and that's because before I became a city commissioner, I had heard of the homestead exemption, but I finally applied it my first year as well. My family, if you know the Lopez's, we're a big group. Well, there's a lot of us. Like, we joke it's a clan, but when I make these decisions, I know that on the weekends when I see them at family get-togethers, at birthday parties, I'm going to have to answer to them, I'm going to have to answer to my neighbors, and I feel that each decision we made here, each position, whether it's creating more positions for parks, for street maintenance, for sanitation. In fact, on Monday evening, I was driving by Cardenas Motors over there by the airport, and I saw one of our sanitation trucks being towed by Capital Towing. I don't know if you all are here, but thank you very much. I know we'll be receiving that bill soon enough.
Do you know how embarrassing that is?
No, how bad is it, right? Like, how bad is it that I'm driving into and I'm seeing one of our sanitation trucks being towed because the engine went out on it, right? These things, they're not fun, they're not exciting, but these are the things, unfortunately, that we have to pay for our city to run. And if we want our city to be that beautiful city, that beautiful shine city on the hill, as they say, we have to invest, and we have to make smart investments. And I believe wholeheartedly that we are doing such, and I wouldn't vote for this if I didn't believe so, because like I said last time, I'm going to have to show my constituents when I go talk to them, hey, this is what we're spending your money on. And this is why I'd asked you guys, and the mayor and I separately and partly thought about this list, is I want our people to know what we're spending their money on. And something we're doing, and I've talked to you about this, Commissioner Morales, is working on that projects list. And so for the public out there, so you all know what I'm talking about, is that we have different projects going on in different parts of the city, your neighborhoods, right around you. And I want to have a list on the website, our city website, which will show you what projects are going on, how much we're spending on it, the start date, the completion date, where we're getting the money from. And I'll give you an example. If you guys were watching our city commission meeting, about a month and a half ago, we had a gentleman come and tell us Casa del Sol, which we've all been to, we've all had quinceañeras, we've gone to weddings there, has been neglected. That building, I don't know if you all know this, was designed by an architect who has a storied history in Harlingen. To replace that Casa del Sol, brand new in 2024 dollars, it's about $6 million. But it's going to look at needing a $2.9 million renovation. That's what these things go towards, right? That's what our money, we need to use our money on. And unfortunately, because we all are homeowners, many of us are homeowners, we know that if you don't replace your roof, you're going to have issues when it rains. We know if you don't take care of your foundation, your house is going to have issues, right? We all want to spend the money on the pools or the whatever, people, the TVs, but if your house is leaking when it rains, what does that new couch do for you, right? And so I say this, and I mean it. We go through these, Commissioner Morales, we go through this process of the budget for months. We take, about 2 months to go through this budget process. I meet with staff, the mayor meets with staff, we all have the opportunity to meet with staff. We're always looking for ideas to cut money, to cut costs to save the taxpayer money, because I would want that in someone, if somewhere else were in my position, I would want them putting in the effort that we've been putting in to make sure we have those savings and that every dollar we spend goes towards something that improves our city and is not wasted. So that again, that's why I support it. I've looked over the numbers. I worked with Gabe on it, and that's why I'm always that's why I applaud Gabe. Gabe has done a fantastic job of always cutting costs, right? I've always made the joke about him that his first answer is always no. Whenever you ask him for anything financially.
That's not true.
Well, not true.
No, it is.
And I'll give you an example. The example that I brought up last time, or maybe like a month ago, is that this commission approved to do those master plans, right? We got for everyone out there, we got a $300,000 grant to do a comprehensive plan for the city. And the comprehensive plan is what the projects we're going to have for the next 10 years. That's where we're going to have public meetings. You all are going to be invited. We'll be sharing it on the website and whatnot. And this commission included 3 other comprehensive plans. One plan was for a downtown master plan. How can we improve our downtown? How can we better help our businesses and bring more businesses or more business and tourists and customers downtown? One was for parking, and then the other was for parks, because we've been hearing y'all have your concerns about parks, saying about the graffiti. I know you have issues. I'll give you another example. We've had issues at the roof at Pendleton Park Pool. That's another expense that comes up. We've had issues at Casa del Sol. We've had issues with Commissioner Bettis, your walking trail. We have issues, Commissioner Mesmar, I'm sorry, Mesmar, with your trails and different, huh? Yeah, and the drainage issues. And these are the things we're trying to spend our money to make sure that we avoid the issues of the future. And unfortunately, this commission has inherited issues that haven't been looked after maybe as well as we could have or should have or whatnot. And I'm not trying to knock anyone else, but we have to handle those. And so,
perfect example would be when Mr. Pena came up here with South Palm Court Road. That road hadn't been touched, and from what the residents have told me, in over 30 years. And we were able to do it this year.
I thought it. But I wasn't going to do that. I'm sorry. I know. I apologize. Trust me, the judges get after me too. Shut me down. Jesus. Give me 1 second. It's, I never remember. It's 9789. 94. Pick my. Just non-stop. Got ridiculous, like. Here.
Ya me pegó el hambre.
Would you like some?
No, thank you. I appreciate it, though. Yeah, I just want to make sure that my flight comes back after.
So you bring it out again.
They're gonna edit whatever I say. Yeah. I thought about the property vacation.
I would love to say
They're really good. Other chocolates, these are good. They're like blueberry, natural. I was going to tell him to put it in, you know, if he doesn't know what I'm doing. I'm going to say, what? Yes, sir. What?
Thank you, sir.
Have you tried these? These are really good.
Yeah. Becca bought, moves, almost a general store worth of snacks and all that for school, and we have like boxes of that. I was like, "Did you buy it for the whole year?" She's like, "Yes." And, I was like, and she literally told me I cannot get into any of them. So of course I sneak them when she's not looking. Right?
She's gonna find out.
Oh, of course. You're not much more losing yourself. Correct. Correct.
You know, we're live now. She's probably watching it.
Oh yeah, she knows. She knows. This guy.
We're going to just continue with you?
No, I think it was.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I'm good. Let's go.
Yeah, what I was going to say,
Let's just, it's 7:35 PM, and we are back in open session after some technical difficulties. And so now, Mike, you were saying?
yeah, what I wanted to say, Daniel, you missed the 60s. Ford and I were there. And Simon and Garfunkel, one of the phrases from one of the songs was, "A man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest." And then pertaining to all this discussion. But the other thing is, no explanation is needed for someone who understands. For someone who does not want to understand, no explanation will do.
Commissioner, were you saying something?
No, I'm good. I'm ready to go.
Okay. All right. So, y'all were given this. Okay.
Mayor, can I read the agenda item?
Yes, please.
All right. An ordinance of the City of Harlingen, Texas, levying ad valorem taxes for use in support of the municipal government of the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, and terminating September 30th, 2025, providing for apportioning each levy for specific purposes, providing when taxes shall become due and when same shall become delinquent if not paid, providing for publication and an effective date, and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
Okay. So we do have, this has to be done in a specific way. So I would need a motion and for it to be read as it is listed on your document in front of you, whoever's going to move with that motion. If we can start with the number one.
I move that the maintenance and operations tax rate be fixed at .453628 per $100.
Second.
Okay. And we'll do the record vote starting with Commissioner Kinsley.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Aye.
Okay. And you've got that? Okay. And then number two?
I move that the interest and sinking tax rate be fixed at .073896 per 100.
May I say something on that?
Yes, sir.
The sinking tax rate is the money we have to set aside to pay our bond obligations. should you vote against this, you're voting for the city to default on its bonds.
And so is that a second?
Somebody made it first?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. And so I'll start with Commissioner Kinsley.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And we have one more.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.527524 per $100, which is effectively a 5.57 increase in the tax rate.
Second.
Second. Okay. Commissioner Kinsley.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
So the second and final vote will take place on the proposed tax rate on Wednesday, September 18, 2024, at the regular City Commission meeting at 5:30 here at Town Hall in City Hall, 118 East Tyler in Harlingen, Texas. And you've got what you needed, right? I want to thank you, Robert, your team, everyone in Kareem in finance, that both of you have worked really, really hard, and I commend you, and all of city staff, all of the directors, and everyone that put in the work to provide us the information that we needed to make the decisions that were made, and also to this commission for working together to ensure that we were doing the right thing by our community. And Gabe, of course, for leading the ship and cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting to get us where we need to be. I'm excited for the future of Harlingen and what we're going to be able to do moving forward. All right, and Melinda?
Moving on to item 10I, consideration and possible action to approve the vehicle towing ordinance on second and final reading, amending the Harlingen Code of Ordinances, Chapter 18, 46-93 through 46-135, Schedule of Fees, and Chapter 46, Article 3, Vehicle Towing, pertaining to towing standards and guidelines for tows requested by police, citizens of private tows, providing for applications, permits, regulations, certifications, and other safety requirements, providing for enforcement and prohibitions, providing for repeal of or conflicting ordinances, amending license and towing fees, which may be charged with the city and other particulars. Police.
And before we get started with this, I want to extend my apologies to everyone that is here from the towing industry. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I should have moved your agenda item up so you wouldn't have to sit here through all of this. So I appreciate it. I know how hard you work. I didn't think about it until right this second. So, and usually these guys here tell me, and so I apologize for that, and we'll try to be quick, but at the same time, I know that Commissioner Lopez, we had discussed of making this, even though it's not listed as a public hearing, to have comments from any of the operators that are here. So, but before we do that, Chief.
Ordinance, the highlights are that basically it raises the basic towing fee for light duty from $175 to $300, and the heavy duty tow stayed the same at $700 for the basic fee. All other fees associated with any of the tows are going to be deferred to the Texas Department of License and Regulations, which regulates the record charges. We also, even though it does state that we're going to limit the rotation list to 8 companies, any companies currently on the list will be kept on that list until it eventually falls down to 8. But other than that, if you have any questions.
Yeah, I do. So let's say the IT, there we go. Let's say a wrecker operator here has 4 different companies. Do they all qualify, or it's the parent company that qualifies?
If they're identified as the company is regulated, in other words, by tax ID. So if they're individual companies, yes, 4 companies.
And so,
And everybody gets a fair shake through the rotation.
Right.
I know we had asked, and we were hoping to have a meeting, and I know that the two of you were going to, then it conflicted with another meeting, but we had asked to get a list of all of those wrecker companies, and we haven't gotten it, but if you can just send it to us when you get an opportunity.
Apologize for that.
That's
We'll
okay.
get that
I know
to you.
everybody's been really busy, and then it was a holiday also, and but when you send it to us, if you can send it to the entire commission as
Will
well.
do. I'll get that done tomorrow.
And there was but I think that, and I didn't see it here, Chief, but there was a question regarding the time. Is that right? And so we reverted back, or?
We adjusted the times for the light-duty tows during Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m., to a 20-minute response time, down from a 30-minute, but everything else stayed the same.
And that was something that you got from the state, right? I think that's what the state, or not the state, but like you mentioned that was a requirement by, I don't remember exactly, I'm losing.
I think that was the state.
Was it the state? Okay.
Time.
So it was kind of in the middle of what was proposed and what was proposed and what was already on the books, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions for the chief? Do you have a question for him?
No, I just wanted to thank you. I know that you met with the tow truck drivers and gave them an opportunity to look it over and, take in their feedback. So I appreciate all the work you all have been doing on this.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that was talked about, and I think that we didn't come to an agreement, and maybe that can be some not a presentation, but maybe just discussion with this commission, was the request or to adjust or amend the ordinance to require a equipment list. And there was conversation about that, but there was really, I don't think that we came up with what I mentioned to the chief and to the tow companies, that I could not unilaterally do anything myself, and that it would have to be the commission to consider that, because that would be a change from the ordinance, right?
Right. We
So-
could have them provide an equipment list if you so desire.
Right. And so are there any of the I know that there was some opposition to that, and then there was some support for that. And so I do want to give the opportunity, since you all have been waiting here patiently, is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this item? Come on up.
Hello, Rodney Myers. The list, we already have a list from TDLR. They tell us what the tow truck needs, what equipment we need. That's the only list that we need. I think if somebody comes in and spends millions of dollars on equipment, why does that have to kick everybody else out? I don't think that's fair. I think we ought to go by what TDLR says. This is the equipment you need to do heavy duty. This is the equipment you need to do regular duty. And that's what we go by. That's what the police department has went by, so why change that now? I don't think there's any reason we should have to change that. That's what I have to say on that part. I also, I don't know, can I change the subject or no?
Yes, sir.
I believe it should be one storage lot, one company, not one storage lot, 5 and 6 companies. That ain't fair to everybody else. It should be one company, one storage lot, one owner. And that would make it fair. That way everybody has a fair shot. It shouldn't be, well, we have 5 or 6 companies. We used to have 5 companies. And we felt it wasn't fair. We pulled our companies out. We left one just to make it fair with everybody else. So for somebody else to come in and say, well, you ought to have that, that's not fair. It's one owner, one company, one storage lot. That should be it. And that was the other thing. I don't think it's fair to have multi-companies, same owner on one lot. That just takes from everybody else. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? You've been here waiting patiently. Please.
Hi, my name is Nicole Ortiz, and I am for the equipment list. The reason for that is because there have been instances where record companies go out to the scenes and they don't have the equipment that's needed to get the job done, which then in turn makes the rotation of the officers or dispatchers having to wait to call another record service to go out. I know in the bigger cities like in Houston, they do have this where they have an equipment list for the light duty and for the heavy duty. We currently have an equipment list for the light duty, but there's not an equipment list for the heavy duty rotations or the requirements that are needed to be on the heavy duty rotation for the city of Harlingen.
Is there any questions?
Yeah, whether it's you, sir, in the
Myers.
burnt orange, or you, ma'am. Okay, so there's a state. If you're going to speak, I'm going to need you to just come up here, just and whoever can answer the question, right? So, as these guys know, I'm a big proponent of just following the state ordinance, right? Keeps things simple and clean. If you could expand on your concern, ma'am, of having an equipment list, what equipment's on that list that is not on the state list that would necessitate or has caused issues in the past? Like, I presume you guys all carry chains. I presume you all carry. So if you can give me an example, I would appreciate it. Either of you.
I would have to look that up because I don't believe that there's actually an equipment list on TDLR
TDLR
for
on
light
all
and heavy.
wreckers. Yes, you have to have your chains, you have to have your brooms, your shovels, all of your necessities.
So it's like the basic necessities. It's not necessarily for light or heavy.
And so you've been at or have had situations where maybe someone doesn't have all the equipment on their list, or whatever it may be, and it's caused issues.
Correct. And I can give an instance of, I believe a year or two ago, there was an accident. The road was frozen. Lady went into a canal. Several record services had to be called out till they got to us to be able to retrieve that vehicle from the canal.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all
You're
filling
welcome.
me in and educating me.
And I think, Mr. Myers, maybe just because the rest of the commission wasn't there, you had mentioned that whatever you didn't have, you could rent, if I
Sure,
recall.
you can rent it or we have it. I mean, we have the equipment. I just don't think it's fair for the other people that have businesses to be basically kind of shoot out where they can't do something that they could do. Everybody has equipment. Do you have the most expensive equipment? Do you have all those other specialty tools? There's a lot of specialty tools. We don't need to do the job and do the job right. We haven't been called out that we've ever turned down a job. So we can still do the same job, no problem. And I believe we should just stay with what they say are necessities. I believe they have a list right now already in force. We just keep that list for everybody. And just to be fair with everybody, with all the records.
Chief, have you had issues with companies not having the necessary equipment?
Not that I'm aware of. And again, like I said, we have a list on here when we do the inspections, but it's the basic list for light-duty tows.
Maybe it's something that the commission, if it becomes an issue, Chief, you bring this back to us and we update that list as necessary. Just a thought. Okay.
I think, I know Gabe pointed out that it wouldn't hurt to have an equipment list to know, what did you mention? That so that way that at least if there's these major accidents, you know exactly what these individual companies have, so that way you are not wasting time and you're efficient and we clear the roads. And I think that's kind of where the discussion went in terms of, well, that is true. However, if a certain company doesn't have that, then the stuff is readily available to rent or to borrow or what have you. And so, I don't know.
What we could do also, Mayor, is just ask the companies to give you one voluntarily. They can choose to give you one or they cannot choose to give you one. That way, you have it on file if you need to. Somebody does go into a ditch, you know who can pull them out. And Now, I don't remember exactly why I brought that up, Mayor.
I don't recall, but I know
Yeah.
that that's kind of where the discussion went. And then Rodney said, well, we can borrow or rent from La Feria, I think.
Well, we've been around, yeah, we're partners, so it's basically, they've been around 37 years, never had a problem recovering anything, and have worked for Harlingen all them years. We've never had a problem recovering anything in Harlingen at all. We've been able to clean up anything here.
Would it be beneficial to have a list, Chief?
And I brought this up before. We show up at a scene and it's a mess. I don't know what they need. You know, I call them, I depend on them to, if they showed up and there was some specialty equipment they didn't need, it would have to be them to say, we don't have that equipment, we need to get someone else.
You could go on forever trying to make a list. I mean, there's so many things you could have to get, you could use, but there's other things you don't need to do it. Other companies might have a skid steer where one might have a tractor.
No, but
Do you need it all on the list?
Because like you're telling me that the list that you have is for the basic necessities. I'm talking about like for the difference between light duty and heavy duty. Like would it be beneficial to have a list for the heavy duty so that you know what they have?
They have a list of chains, all the stuff they need. I mean, 18-wheeler flips over. Everybody has the chains in a heavy duty to flip them trucks over and do what they need to do.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate all the time everyone's had to put into this. I'm hoping that this, we're working towards improving the process for everyone. And again, just because we did it this one time this way, in a year or two, we can always come back, and if there's been issues, we're always trying to improve. This commission has been good about always evolving, right, with the times as necessary. So thank you all so much. Chief, if you have no further comments, Mark, would you like to read the ordinance so that we can
Yes,
get everyone home? I know they've been home here late.
And we just want to make sure we gave everybody an opportunity to speak. I see a bunch of y'all. Everybody's good? Okay, fantastic. Mark?
An ordinance of the City of Harlingen amending Harlingen Code of Ordinances at Chapter 18, 46 to 93 through 46 through 135, Schedule of Fees, and Chapter 46, Article 3, Vehicle Towing, pertaining to towing standards and guidelines for tows requested by police, citizens, or private tows, providing for applications, permits, regulations, certifications, and other safety requirements, providing for enforcement and prohibitions, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, amending license and towing fees, which may be charged within the city, and other particulars.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item J, consideration and possible action to adopt an ordinance on first reading amending the City of Harlingen Code of Ordinances, Chapter 38, Solid Waste, Article 2, Collection and Disposal, Section 38 to 31, Duty to Provide Receptacles Specifications by clarifying the size of the receptacle for single-family residential, Section 38 to 33, Receptacles to be accessible to collectors by clarifying the accessibility of the placement of the garbage container, and Section 38 through 39, tree limbs, brush trimmings, and the like collection by clarifying the date and location for brush to be placed on city right-of-way for collection services, planning and development.
Mark?
An ordinance amending the City of Harlingen Code of Ordinances, Chapter 38, Solid Waste, Article 2, Collection and Disposal, Section 3831, Duty to Provide Receptacle Specifications by clarifying the size of the receptacle for single-family residential, Section 3833, Receptacles to be accessible to collectors by clarifying the accessibility of the placement of the garbage container, and Section 3839, Tree limbs, brush trimmings, and the like, collection by clarifying the date and location for brush to be placed on the city of right-of-way for collection services, providing for publication and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
So we're with this ordinance amendment, so this is in coordination with the Public Works Department. So there are three main things that are being proposed with this ordinance. The first one is all brush must be placed on street right-of-way on the assigned week only. It shall be unlawful to any customer to place for collection in any street right-of-way before the Monday of the city website published announcement of brush collection by the city. So only the week that is assigned for your area, that's when you can place your brush. Number 2, all household trash must be bagged. Number 3, all loose leaves must be bagged. So then, also there's if you're not in compliance, you could get a notice of violation, and if that doesn't work, then you will get a citation in municipal court.
And what are we talking? I just think it's funny. They come and pick up the brush, and then that next day, people put brush out on the street for a month. It's hilarious.
Yes.
And I've had so many complaints about that. But what is the notice of violation? What does that mean?
So if you do that, you put the brush right after the truck pass by. The code compliance officers will give you a notice of violation because now you're not in compliance with this new ordinance. So you have 10 days to remedy the situation, right? Remove the brush, take it somewhere. If you don't, then
Take it to the landfill. That's where it belongs.
Yes.
Not just someplace.
Not just somewhere, yes.
Yeah, well,
No
of course,
dumping.
not illegally dumped.
Yeah.
So if you don't comply within those 10 days, then you could get a citation. And so the code compliance officer will give you a citation, and you have a ticket with municipal court.
And
Does
how
this apply to alleys as well, or just roadside?
So I'll defer to Ms. Guajardo.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commission. Ruth Trevino, Assistant Public Works Director, for the record. So yes, that's going to be applied to everything, alleyways or roadways as well.
Thank you.
Do we need to clarify that it also applies to alleys? Because right now it just says street right-of-way. An alley is not a street right-of-way.
And then how do you know if somebody throws a couple of twigs or branches in the garbage can?
It's hard to tell. We really won't be able to tell until you're actually dumping them. So what we're trying to do also is to educate the community, right? So that we do have the drivers report that to dispatch, and then we can go ahead and get the address and also be proactive in that way to educate them with the tree limbs don't go there. Of course, if they're sticking out, then they won't serve as a container and report the address as well.
So when people, I'm just kind of thinking of, because I get the complaints too, and you and I have talked about this, I think. And so when folks have their yard cut or their trees trimmed, naturally, whenever they get that done, that might not fall on the time frame of when the city goes and collects. So generally, people just do all that, and then they place it in front of their home, and it sits there until it's ready to be picked up. And so that's kind of been the issue. So now people will not be able to do that. Is that right?
So it goes back to educating the community, right? So if you know your week of pickup is not until 3 weeks, recommended to maybe not do trimming that week, maybe wait closer to your pickup. Because what we're trying to do is to have them place it out there before the Monday of your day of collection. Because like you all mentioned, it does happen quite often where we just pass by there and the next day or within that same week, they're calling us, hey, I have brush out there and you guys are not, we were just there yesterday. So to be proactive and be able to have everybody picked up on a timely schedule, that would be the best way to go about it.
And right away, does that mean it can no longer be laid on by the curb and gutter on the street? It has to be up on the sidewalk?
Right. So it would be it would be best on the sidewalk, yes, to be placed on the curb.
So what if there's no sidewalk and there's no?
So like usually when they have alleyways, if there's alleyways, they'll place it in the alley.
But they could not place it in the alley now.
And if they don't place it in the alley and they put it on the where? On the...
Well, I'm just saying, because I know like in District 5 or say my neighborhood, there's no sidewalks, right? We don't have curb and gutter. So where would my neighbors place their brush? And we don't have an alley.
Okay, so no alley. So it would be on your property, basically.
The right-of-way.
On your right-of-way, right.
But you can't have it there until it's your turn to be picked up. Right?
Correct.
So I think, is there going to, and I think this is a great idea because we want to beautify Harlingen. That's the goal. I even had some constituents calling and saying that we should have an ordinance where there's a specific time amount that you can leave your trash can outside your house because people leave they come and they dump the trash and then they leave the containers, on the floor, like sideways or, and it's a mess. And then especially in the neighborhoods where you have very little space between houses. And so they'll call and say, hey, my neighbor, he never puts his garbage, and it just stays there until it's time for, so it is an issue. People want their neighborhoods to look nice, but what kind of awareness are we what kind of public campaign, I guess, awareness to let people know you need to check the website to see, are we going to have like an amnesty period of where we're educating people instead of fining them so that they can kind of get into the groove of things?
And as a follow-up, how are people going to know this?
Right. That's kind of the concern.
Right. So that's a good idea. I would say probably social media would be the best way to go about it, and send letters to kind of advise them of it. Right now, I don't think there was anything in place as far as how they were going to be communicated. But I would say social media would be the first way to go, and letters.
Because Manny, you're there. You want to come up here real quick? How often do you get these calls? All the time, right?
So these calls are pretty frequent. So our approach is going to be on my department, because you're going to come through me. It's going to be a courtesy notices to get them started. We're going to send out courtesy notices, advise them of the new ordinance that we have in place, just to advise them, this is in place. We're letting you know, it's big red letters, courtesy only. Where it's going to be, you need to work with us, and as far as spacing your brush out, the week before. Usually I advise them a week before your pickup is great, because your grass won't die within a week. And then go from there. A lot of the issues that I have right now with number 2 and number 3 is where our drivers go out there, they dump these cans, and they don't bag their trash, and then there goes all this debris on the ground. Number 3 especially, I don't like it because of people leave their leaves on the right of way. I'm trying to protect our storm inlets. And once these leaves go into the storm inlets, they create I would like to call it like a pillow. When it rains, it just plugs it up, and then we have public works out there with their vac trucks trying to vacuum things out, trying to get those things to run. So it'll be courtesy notices. We do door hangers as well, courtesy door hangers just to advise them of the situation, and social media will be one of our big outlets. Now back to your when you mentioned about the trash cans, we do have an ordinance in place for it, and we do address it.
Can you send it to me?
I will do.
Okay. Because I have a list.
I have an ordinance, and we do address it. It's through Public Works. It's under their ordinances, but we do address them on a regular basis.
So what, can you tell me what that is?
It states as soon as the trash is picked up, the can must be put away, off the right of way, and it is in place.
Okay. If you could send that to me, and then I will tell these folks to report to you.
If next week is pickup for my area, I'm clear to put the limbs out this week.
Yeah.
So the week before.
Yeah, because like this case, this week has been raining, so you can get your gardener out there.
The ordinance says before the Monday of the city website published announcement of trash collection by the city. That's what the ordinance says.
Right. And I'm going to work with citizens. Sometimes a lot of these people can't get to their yards, during the week because they work 8 to 5, 8 to 6. It's going to do a time change now, so it's going to get darker earlier during the day. So they have to work on the weekends. I'll work with people. I don't have an issue with working for the citizens. But if they can help me out with placing it.
So we're going to reword that then?
We can add verbiage and change if we have to. We'll have to want to reword it.
If that's what the wish of the commission is, yes, that can be rewarded.
I think that's what they're saying. It should probably say the Monday before the week of your garbage. Yeah, so that way it's extremely clear. And then we can also have a media come up with a video about that, because that's going to be important.
Social media flyers, door hangers.
Brandon can come out of the trash can.
Who?
Brandon.
Oh, he's done it before. Yeah.
Just to give a little history, this ordinance comes because I'm the one that asked the the Public Works and Planning about this, because I received some calls from some of my constituents that were worried about, the kind of like what you said about the leaves and all that stuff, clogging up the drainage and all that. So this is where they came from. I brought it up to Manny. Manny's idea was like, hey, we've actually been wanting to do this for a while. So then I reached out to Daniel, and then Daniel's been helping me work this out. He's the one, Mr. Lawyer Mode, got all into it and worked out the details. So this is actually coming from what the people want.
Right. No, yeah, I think we all get those, we all get the calls, and then you get most of the calls, and then we give you our calls.
Correct.
So we understand, and this is a step in the right direction. I just want to make sure that we are giving sufficient notice to people. And so these courtesy, like warning notices type of thing will be for a month, 2 months, not indefinitely, because we want people to.
We'll work with the citizen. I mean, it's gonna be an ongoing program to get them used to it. Because right now they're used to just putting it out, like you mentioned, the one you talked to me, Mr. Pettis. We picked it up, and the very next day there was already a couch out to the following day.
Mayor, I would suggest that we go a month, because it takes a month to cycle through the entire city.
Yep.
So I would suggest that we don't actually undertake any of this implementation until we give the public 30 days notice that it's going to happen.
I do think the warning is good, though, within this 30-day
Yeah.
notice, because then,
Yeah.
once you get that notice, now you know,
Now you
right?
know.
And you're going to keep track of all of that, so that way there's no repeated warnings, right?
Yeah,
It's
and
just-
you're gonna get calls that they got a notice from us for trash, and they're gonna tell you they've been used to it for many years, and why they're changing. It's just we need to beautify and help us out. That's what it is.
So another complaint is people say, oh, well, they leave furniture at the front of their, right? So, so.
It is allowed. They do have bulk pickup for Public Works. They do have their brush and debris, and they have their bulk pickup. So they are allowed. You can have washers and dryers in your back in your alley. They are allowed. Some people don't like them, but by ordinance, they do allow them. If they don't have an alley, they can't place them in the front for pickup, as long as it's not on the street. And like she said, as long as they're off the right of way. In the case like yours, Mayor, you live in an area where you don't have a right of way. You have a bar ditch. Put it inside the area where they can reach you. They can use grapplers in that area.
Right.
Yeah, they'll be able to reach you with a grapple.
Yeah. We don't have a lot of issues in our neighborhood, but I know there's a lot of rural areas in District 5, and it's an issue with, throughout the neighborhoods. But I do get calls, oh, my neighbor put a couch out, in the front, or a refrigerator, or things like that. And so those are for specific days. And so is this addressing that also? No.
Yes, we do address it. It's household trash, debris. I don't know, do we want to do heavy bulk waste items as well?
I would just say if you're
should be
updating it,
added,
just
yeah.
put everything in there, so that way you don't have the couch there for a month waiting to be picked
So
up.
we can make for the second reading, we can make the adjustment on the week before, and then we can add about the bulking.
Bulky
Yes.
items.
Might as well while you're here.
Agreed. Sergio, I know you're in the back. We've talked about the app, right? Updating the city app. This is the type of stuff I would like us to be able to share with people, to say, hey, we're doing a change. And one other thing is, I would almost like reminders, right? Like, Jay, you get if you sign up for the what do they call, the notices, if I sign up for the notices, I would like the app to be like, hey, reminder, in your neighborhood, you better put out the brush pickup. It comes in 1 week. You got to put it in now. Things like that.
Yeah, the app has that feature for notices.
Perfect.
So the citizen signs up for notices, they can push those.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we communicate on as many different fronts as we can on this. So thank you very much.
So Manny, you know that little apartment complex there on Morgan that I always have the problem
Yep.
with? I mean, do they get notice on these things? Or?
Yeah, and so notices will be sent out to the property owners. It's difficult to deal with the tenant because they change out so many tenants per month. So these will all be mailed out to property owners. And that one particularly, he's out of Bronzeville. The one that I have a lot of issues with is the one on Hell.
I just hate that one on Morgan because, I mean, people coming from the airport, that's what they
I
see
know.
driving by is somebody's mattress, somebody's old ratty recliner.
Oh, wow.
So we will address the property owners directly, and they'll be the ones getting notices. And then from there out, they will send it out to their tenants.
Appreciate the help.
Okay. And maybe on one other thing is and y'all are doing a really good job of this, is on the website, where when you log into the website, Sergio, it has where you have to click to close out the pop-up to be able to get to the rest of the website. Maybe you can put this notice there too. Yeah.
Agreed. You're right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Manny. All right. Did we read the caption?
I don't think so.
This is in, oh, yeah, we did.
Yes, Amanda? I don't know.
I don't.
Can you
I
just do it
didn't
again,
hear
just in
him
case
read
I
it.
don't recall?
Sure.
No, I didn't hear him.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock. I don't know.
This was J, right? An ordinance amending the City of Harlingen Code of Ordinances, Chapter 38, Solid Waste, Article 2, Collection and Disposal, Selection 3831, Duty to provide the receptacle specifications by clarifying the size of the receptacle for single-family residential, Section 3833, Receptacles to be accessible to collectors by clarifying the accessibility of the placement of the garbage container, and Section 3839, Tree limbs, brush trimmings, and the like, collection by clarifying the date and location of brush to be placed on city right-of-way for collection services, providing for publication and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
That was with the changes that we talked about?
Yeah, motion, or, the motion is for to
With the
amend the
changes.
language as proposed by the different members of the commission.
Okay.
You good with that, Ford? You made the motion, so you good with that?
Correct.
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item K, consideration and possible action to approve the preliminary construction plans and final plat of the proposed Corsiv Acres subdivision bearing a legal description of 3.73 acres out of land out of block number 2 FZ Bishop subdivision of section number 39, located along the west side of South Palm Court Drive, approximately 777 feet south of Garrett Road. Applicant Casa Engineering, Planning and Development.
Mark?
This
It's not an
Oh,
ordinance.
okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a question. Surprise. Do we have any lift stations nearby that can be connected to avoid the septic tanks?
Not for this subdivision, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion approved by Bettis. Is there a second?
Yes, by Commissioner Kinsley.
Kinsley? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item L, consideration and possible action to approve the preliminary construction plans and final plat of the proposed Roberto Aguilar subdivision bearing a legal description of 3.73 acres of land out of block number 2 FZ Bishop subdivision of section number 29, located along the west side of Rangerville Road, approximately 1,200 feet north of Simmons Road. Applicant Guzman and Munoz Engineering and Surveying, Planning and Development.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Want to be abstaining on this item?
Yes.
Okay, item M, consideration and possible action to approve a request from Remy Garza, Cameron County Elections Department to use the Harlingen Cultural Arts Center located at 575 76th Drive and Harlingen City Hall Town Hall Meeting Room located at 118 East Tyler Avenue, Monday, October 21st through Friday, October 25th, from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday, October 26th through Sunday, October 27th, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday, October 28th through Friday, November 1st, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and tentatively both locations on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. City Secretary.
Is there a motion?
I had a question real quick.
Second.
I had a question. On this one, I know Remy was looking to use the convention center. That didn't work out, or what happened?
No, he's, for November 5th, he's going to have it. Okay. The only issue is that there's going to be the birding festival that week, so it's going to be really crowded, but he's going to use the Kingfisher, which is the one that's right next to the pavilion, on the left side, right?
Yeah. Okay. Motion to approve?
Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item N, consideration and possible action to approve the cyber interlocal agreement with Texas Municipal League effective October 1st, 2024, Human Resources.
there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, Item O, consideration and possible action to approve a resolution to accept Valley International Airport's proposed operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 airport.
My apologies to Marv also for not moving you up on the agenda. I am sorry. But we know all the wonderful work you have done and what's in our packet. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your incredible work. Great job. You're killing it.
Item P, consideration and possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading amending Chapter 18 of the Harlingen Code of Ordinances Master Fee Schedule to allow for the retroactive waiving of adoption fees for National Dog Day, August 28, 2024, and to establish an annual occurrence of waiving adoption fees at the Harlingen Animal Shelter on National Dog Day, National Pet Day, National Cat Day, and National Adopt a Pet Day attachment.
So I think this is wonderful. The only thing I had told Gabe, and hopefully y'all consider, is maybe include the other major holidays to give staff the ability to, you know how during Christmas time they're like, oh, you need to go get a puppy for Christmas, or Christmas and maybe Valentine's Day, just so that they have they don't have to, but the flexibility to do that during those holidays.
I'm down.
Okay. And
So Christmas and Valentine's?
Christmas,
We just-
Valentine, and any other,
just have to
you have to
establish a date.
identify them.
Yeah, we
And
have
Easter.
to have a date.
And
Easter?
Easter?
What about
We
just
need the date.
city holidays?
Well, nobody buys Christmas presents on Christmas, so a week before?
Well, we're closed also on Christmas Day.
Right, so it'd
And-
have to
and we're-
be,
And we're closed
A
Christmas
week
Eve,
before? Or-
so maybe,
so you had said that they have to identify the holidays,
St.
but you
Nicholas
just
Day is
mentioned, or you
December
did one of you,
7th.
all city holidays. Could we just do that in addition
new
to
calendar.
these?
well, we'd have to identify the day before the city holidays because they're normally closed on the holidays.
So could we say the business day of all
Prior to
city,
all
prior
city-
to all city
yeah, we can do that.
holidays, in addition to these that are been identified?
Yes, we can do that.
Make a motion to approve
That-
this ordinance subject with.
Gotta read it.
Okay, and the
You gotta read
caption.
the caption, but.
No, it's a resolution.
It says
An
ordinance.
ordinance of the city
Oh,
of
I'm sorry.
Harlingen,
You're right.
amending Chapter 18 Master Fee Schedule to allow for the retroactive waiving of adoption fees for National Dog Days, August 26, 2024, and to establish an annual occurrence for waiving adoption fees at the Harlingen Animal Shelter on National Dog Day, National Pet Day, National Cat Day, and National Adopted Shelter Pet Day.
Make a motion,
Second.
approve this ordinance, including the language that the mayor suggested.
And second by Bettis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Including cat day for you, Mike.
Item Q, consideration and possible action to authorize the city manager to execute an interlocal cooperative agreement between the city and the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley for partial use of the soccer complex for student parking. City manager.
I would just recommend that we strike the term bus stops from the agreement and then recommend approval.
Make a motion to approve subject to Gabe's amendment.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Item R, consideration and possible action to award a consulting contract to Marbu Consulting to conduct a comprehensive integration and implementation plan for the city of Harlingen regarding the homeless population. City manager.
This was a meeting that the mayor and I had with this gentleman, Robert Marbu. And so he conducts surveys on homelessness, and since we've had an uptick in the homeless population, he was asked to come down by one of the residents of Harlingen to meet with the city. And so he gave us an overview of what he can do for the city. He's done these types of surveys before, and he would need about 3 months to conduct the survey. He would charge approximately $8,000 a month for 3 months, and then he would charge expenses to come down. So I was able to talk to him about the travel expenses, and we're going to cap them, if it's approved by the city, to be fixed at $2,400 and $800 added to the contract. Now, he did ask that we do that monthly, but I'm going to talk to him about just doing it for 1 month. So we don't have the money budgeted for this, so we'd have to have a budget amendment probably at the next.
So what exactly is he going to do?
Conduct a.
So we met with him, and so I've been getting a lot, I don't know about y'all, but I've been getting a lot of, and I think you have in your district, because it's some of the ones that you get, I get also. And PD does an amazing job of addressing the issue, but the problem is, people move from one place to another place. And so even though you have someone on one street or one district, and then PD moves them, then they don't have anywhere to go because they're homeless, so they'll go to another location. And so I feel like right now the homeless population in Harlingen is manageable in comparison to other cities. And so I know Vanessa Corubias, she's been here before when she talked to us about all the great work she did during COVID. And so she was a fellow, and so she met a whole bunch of people during her time in that position. And so one of the other fellows that she met was this gentleman, and that's his specialty is homelessness, and he's gone to several communities and assessed the situation and provided basically a strategic plan on how to get this done. One of the interesting things, and I know Daniel probably appreciate this, when we're in law school, there's not a lot of talk about this other than the fact that the basic answer is being homeless isn't a crime, right? Mm-hmm. So there's not much that you can do. Well, there's been a recent case that really changes that and gives municipalities very just really the ability to do what could not be done before in terms of I guess everything, right, is what we talked about, saying, okay, well, if you we could purchase tickets for them to leave, right, the city. You can give them a choice if they are in a certain area to say either you get arrested or you go to the local shelter, or you have to be reunified, with your family, and let us help you do that. And so one of the things that I thought was very interesting is he spoke to us after. I knew that we were going to be. This is something that we've been planning for some time for him to come down here, but I had to push the meeting. And while I pushed the meeting because I had things to do, they made use of their time and went to Loaves and Fishes, and spoke to them, and we talked about the issues regarding how they care for the homeless population, and since they're faith-based, there are certain requirements, and how that may impact the homeless population in our community, and whether they're able to be residents in the shelter, and also identifying the difference between individuals that are homeless that are part of the Harlingen community, that grew up here, lived here, have families here, went to school here, versus people that are from outside of the city of Harlingen and that are recently arrived to Harlingen, or maybe they are going from one place to another, and that the services need to be different and to serve each of them in the way that better solves the issue. And so he'll provide a complete assessment on how to go about that, and then he'll also work and speak with the local shelter and come to the community and do more of a, they did a drive-through the community, but it'll be more in-depth. And he's done this in multiple cities throughout Texas, and then also outside of Texas as well. And so I think that this is something that the community is asking us to do. I don't know, if you sit on this commission and you haven't gotten a question or a call from a resident, I'd be very surprised in terms of what are you doing about this, the homeless population. We want to do it in a responsible way, but the fact that now municipalities, their hands are not tied anymore. You really can do whatever which is a little scary in terms of some municipalities. We heard from this individual that they're being very aggressive. I think that we want to be responsible. We want to be compassionate, but we also need to really tackle the issue. So right now that it's manageable. So I think this is a good investment in our community and in something that will definitely, if we can get him started as soon as possible, then potentially by the beginning of next year, we can have a plan in place to really make a difference and do something. And I really like the fact that he wants to help and have those wraparound services type for the people that are within our community, that are in our community, and that choose to be homeless, right? And how you tackle that, and ensuring that the best course of action for folks that are not from our community is to reunite them with their families in whatever state that they're from. So I think it's a great opportunity for us, and I'm really grateful to Vanessa to really bringing this to my attention, and then spending the time with Gabe and I.
Mayor, just to clarify, the reunification would happen for homeless except in the case of battered women?
Correct.
Or battered children, if they happen to be homeless. And so he would provide us a survey of the homeless population and the services available in the city to assist them, what we need to do to help the homeless population here if we don't have those services already, and give us a report that would actually outline all that.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
If we can, I would love for him to just do a Zoom presentation to us.
Yes.
Just because it's overwhelming, this issue, right? And I have nowhere to start. And so I would love to at least for us to be educated a little bit about everything you're telling us. You're giving us the 2 minutes, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I would love for him
That
to.
was one of the things we dealt with CASA, was these kids would age out of the program, and then the next day they were homeless, basically.
Right. Wow. That's a big issue. And so he had really, and he gave us some, and maybe I can share assessments that he did. And he's a great guy. He said, you know what, I can come over here at no cost, but he's just going to talk to us, right? But we really need a plan. We need an assessment. And so as much as he wants to assist us, him coming down here and traveling for free and just talking to us about what he's done in other places, I don't think that that's really going to move the needle. We need deliverables so that way we can move on it. But I think that's a great idea. Maybe we can, on the next meeting.
I can have him do that before he starts to work.
Sure.
Well, it doesn't have to wait. Like, I just want an overview because
Right.
it's these things that I don't know about that are overwhelming to me sometimes.
Yeah, he talked about what was really interesting is, Harlingen. I grew up here, right? And I remember when Loaves and Fishes was, I think it was on First Street. And I volunteered there. I think everybody kind of knew where it was. And everybody knows that in the city of Harlingen, if you're homeless, you'll be fed, right? Like Loaves and Fishes does an amazing job in feeding people. And I think it's because they're faith-based. And we believe that no one should go hungry, right? No matter what your situation is. So the people that they feed aren't necessarily the people that they serve in the shelter. And trying to figure out how we can ensure that we aren't bringing more people into our community because we are so, loving and giving in that regard, and having a plan. And so that food plan is important, and there's a difference between people that are temporarily displaced and then the ones that are, like you mentioned, that they have nowhere to go. Right. And those really need to be identified, and we have an obligation, I think, as a community to help them and to ensure that that's not what happens to them. And then you have the folks that are somehow, come into our community, and they talked about people that are homeless go north and south. And so depending on where we are, and they may be traveling and then they just can't get anywhere else, maybe they just need assistance to get to where they're going. So there's a lot of tools, but we could be here forever talking about it, and it's late. So maybe at the next meeting, do you all want to do it within a meeting or an actual meeting just for that?
No, within the meeting.
Within the meeting. Okay. So we can plan on it.
Thank you.
Yes. And so next are board appointments.
Yes, ma'am. Board appointments. Specifically, appointment or discussion and possible action to include appointment and/or removal of any position subject to appointment or removal by statute, ordinance, or bylaws.
Did you have a question, sir?
I have some input.
Are you the one messaging me?
No.
No? Or input on what?
You talked about trash earlier.
Oh,
Pickup and all that.
okay. Can we do it after the meeting and we can talk to you? There was somebody messaging me about.
That's okay. I can
Okay.
talk to you.
Okay, just give me a few minutes. We're almost done. Commissioner?
No, we've got that one, you and I were.
Board appointments?
I thought you said you were going to add her on.
But I didn't know who to take off. I have to get that information.
Okay, then I can put her on.
Yeah, you.
I'll be taking, son again, let me, you caught me off guard here.
Okay.
Kind of circle back to me.
Appointment?
Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Moses Mendoza Jr. for the Veterans Advisory Board.
Okay.
No.
You're back.
You guys are fast.
Hang on, I might still have it.
Melinda, who was the? it was for the-
Cantu, right? Wasn't that the name?
It was, let's circle back to this after executive session.
Okay, so we'll
I'll find
kind of
it.
table this
Yeah,
for now.
executive session. Oh, wow, okay.
It says here, oh, no, we don't.
No, we don't.
Come on, Commissioner.
A new applicant, sir?
Correct, you guys sent me the application for zoning.
Oh,
Well, here she is, I found it.
Jessica? Because I got one on my desk for a Jessica, no?
Yeah, I just found it. Give me 1 second. Bob.
Where it went.
So there's 3 board members from Miss Cuellar, who's
Oh,
interested in
yes.
serving on the board. So I'll add Miss Cuellar to the board, and she'll be replacing Julie Azel Perez, who's on the airport board, and when you're on the airport board, you can't serve on any other boards. And so,
In what board?
on the airport? No, I'm putting Miss Cuellar on this
community,
zoning board of adjustments.
Yes.
Linda Cuellar.
Yes.
That's her name.
Okay. So you went 2 years. Yeah, okay.
My only comment on that was, if somebody's not showing up at the meetings, let us know.
Sure.
It becomes a critical, well, I've been here a year, well, tell me that. We were
Right,
replaced.
right.
we
Okay.
just found out from
Yeah.
Mr. Cervantes.
And that's fine.
No problem, no problem. But that was
I'll
to.
make a motion to approve.
To comply
Second.
with the requirement.
I don't think so, sir.
Julie's been doing the right thing. so.
If it's the Board of Adjustments and
Right.
Appeals.
That's what I'm saying, just for clarity that, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we are adjourned.
Do you hear the motion that I find it?
I just don't want people.
Yeah, no, yeah.